All right, buddy. Welcome to the Thursday Night Forum. And apologies for Sunday from Arsenal, from me, from all of us at Arsenal Fan Circle, because
Hey,
it was
it's
Mother's
all your
Day,
fault,
and
right?
it was Mother's Day. I was, if I wanted to do a podcast, I couldn't. And
Oh,
Sunday
you could have.
was a good day for the mothers, good day for the family, but not a good day for the Arsenal family because the realization, the penny dropped, as we say in Ireland, the penny dropped. The realization of the dream. Man City quashed that right on Sunday. Stan, you're smiling. I'll go to you
Can I
first.
just tell you something about that, about last Sunday? Because even though I live in North America, I still celebrate the UK Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And my mother, she lives in Cyprus in Europe, but we
Yep.
celebrate that. So after the match on Sunday, my missus, she's like, right, I'm going out to brunch with my sisters and that for a Mother's Day like brunch. And you're invited. And I'm like, I can't, I'm going on the pod, aren't I? She's like, you're not coming. I said, like, I've really celebrated Mother's Day. I'm going on the pod. So she left right in the half, and I'm sat there for like 15 minutes waiting and that, and there's no link coming through. And then I saw your message on Twitter. And I was like, no show today.
Yeah. And then I got a message from you.
Obviously, when the missus came back and she said, how was the pod? I was like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. It was all right. And listen, I think perspective is important because Sunday would have been a different type of podcast, and we're all feeling it, Gary. Sunday we would have felt a little bit different. I don't know if we're going to feel different now, 4 or 5 days later on a Thursday night. But let me know how you're feeling, Gary.
I mean, I would have liked to have got it out then because I know it would change over time. It is I'm disappointed. Yeah, disappointed the way that game went. There's lots of different things, and we'll probably touch on everything that we feel. But the youngest team in the league and all the issues that has in terms of how the way teams play. Guess what? Brighton was younger than us on the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So to say that youth had anything to do with the way we play is false because they actually were younger than us that day. That squad that they put out there, they didn't have some of their starters, just like we didn't have some of our starters. And they the way you look at the two teams and you're like, okay. They looked much better than us on the day, and I think that's there's a lot of questions there as to what that could be. But as a whole, when we go down, sometimes it's everything. It's maybe the lineup, maybe the players that actually are on the pitch in terms of who got selected. It's the way that they're managed and then coached and subbed and all that kind of stuff. There's a total failure sometimes when we look at it because none of that what we saw on Sunday looked like anything we had seen a lot of most of the season. So what happened? Did the players actually look better in practice and all of a sudden the game looked different? I don't know, but there's just too many questions and gotta go back to the drawing board again because we failed again late in the season, late in a cup match, 3 seasons in a row now. And at some point we need to see the pot at the end of this rainbow, right? Because they're giving us something better each season. We're looking better each time, but there has to be a trophy at the end of one of these pretty quickly, or else we've tapped out. We've hit our limit, with either the management or the team. So yeah, no, I'm disappointed. Too many. Disappointed, really. I think we should have come out to play. I mean, you're playing at home. You expect them to play better, and they just did not. So home had nothing to do with it. So what was it? That's going to be a big question: is why do they look like that? Regardless of how they tired end of the season, all that kind of stuff. So that's just disappointed and got a little lost for words. I was lost for words watching that and commentating during doing a watch along. I just didn't have any words. I was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. This doesn't look right. It doesn't look like what we've been watching all season.
Yeah, I think we're going to have differing viewpoints specifically on this game. last Sunday, but I think we may have broad viewpoints that are similar when we're looking at the whole season as a whole, and we zoom out and look at the perspective of it. A little bit leery of going to Tony, but Tony's struggling a little bit. But Tony, you're good for 10 minutes for the whole
I'm
podcast.
good.
So
I'm good for more than that, Ray. I just might be coughing. To me, it feels like we shit the bed again. I kept saying Newcastle. Kept mentioning that we needed to rewatch that from last year. We showed up against Newcastle and Brighton. We pulled the Newcastle from last year. Nobody seemed to give a shit. You had Tierney in there that everybody wanted. Defense, no better than it has been. And that's kind of our biggest problem is the defense. Because we just stopped doing that. Then the midfield does nothing. So we're going to have a major rebuild coming on. It's actually to be with 10 players Gary wants that we actually need.
I've been saying 5 to 10 players for like the last couple of windows, and I think we're still there. We're still
Support
5 or
Chelsea
10.
when you get 20.
But
if we get somebody, if somebody steals the credit card, maybe we can't.
we'll have to build a new dressing room, new toilets, everything. If we're new
but we can easily look through it. Left back, we're gonna need a left back unless Tierney stays, but he tries to play Tierney like Zinchenko. Zinchenko to me still needs to move up to Zakharov. Center back, we definitely need another one there. Right back, we might need 2 there. If you want to get White back to center back, if not just 1 because Tamiyasu's not going to do it. Midfield, you already know Zaka's leaving. You got El Nini, that's too old. Jorginho can do us good for 1 more year. But that's 3 or 4 there. Striker, to me, I still don't think we have any strikers. Stan agrees with me that Jesus is a winger.
Yeah. Jesus is a winger. Yep. Evening, everyone. Stephen, listen, I think we've come a long way in 3-4 years under Arteta. We've cleared out a dressing room that was pretty much useless in terms of their ability to get up consistently for games. And we've weeded out the bad personalities within the dressing room. And I don't think we could pick one that we could say left Arsenal and has maybe Joe Willock has gone and made a career for himself at Newcastle. But aside from that, I don't think many players that have left have prospered too much. And we have increased the levels within the team and within the squad, rising from 2 8th place finishes, an FA Cup win using Emery's players. Let's face it. And but he did win a cup in that respect, and then a 5th place finish last season, and it looks like a 2nd place finish last season. The patterns are there, Stan, are similar. A poor ending toward the end of the season, but there has to be some lessons learned. Gary's been talking about it all through the season. Tony's been talking about it. We've all been talking about it in different ways about the squad is stretched too much, Stan, but the patterns are similar, right?
Well, when the season began, and I looked at our initial target, and the initial target when the season before a ball was kicked was, can Arsenal get back into the Champions League? You know, i.e., finishing a minimum of 4th spot. I looked at our squad and I thought, what could stop us from reaching that target? And I thought, well, looking at what we've got, I think the only thing that could really hick us up is a lack in depth, which leads to a lack of variety. And when we got into a position where we were in pole position and riding the top of the league, I was still concerned about that. And I think that now that I'm looking at now that I've conceded that the league has finished, I think I can say that that is where the problem has been: a lack of depth, a lack of having quality in backup. You know, you just look at the Man City team, and you can put a player like Mahrez on the bench after coming off the back of hat tricks and the variety that they have. You know, in order to keep pace, that's what we needed. Am I disappointed that we haven't won? It looks like we're not going to win the Premier League, of course, but I'm still really excited about the progress that we've made this season.
Mhm.
And I think to myself, wow, if we've managed to do this with the small resources that we've had, you know, I've really enjoyed this season. Obviously, 2 games notwithstanding that we haven't seen yet, but up until this point, I'm really pleased with this season. I mean, this is the best season I can remember in years. Years. We haven't won the league since 19 years. We've won some FA Cups along the way, but for a run in the league, we really gave it a good go, but we just ran out of a little bit of steam. I still think that the players that we, you know, a number of the players that we have in the first 11 can help us to get to the next stage. There need to be some tweaks here and there. I still think that we need some quality off the bench if we're going to be serious in Europe. We need to have that backup in quality. And obviously, Mikel Arteta will continue to learn his trade.
Yeah.
I think he's the right man for the job, in the right place, in the right club that believes in him, with players around him that are responding and are learning and improving with him. And I think taking him out of the equation would just put us back into a state of flux, because whoever comes in is going to want his own men around him. And then we're in another rebuild. And when you're in a rebuild, you're in like a stasis. You're not really getting anywhere. We've come out of a rebuild now. Let's see this through to the end. But
You're going to be in a situation of Manchester United, a situation of a Chelsea, situation of that team down the road as well. But we also need to be very careful if we're coming into this window where we're going to be good and very good for 4 or 5 years, which is what I hope we're going to be with the young players we have blossoming into their prime, that we don't become that team down the road during Pochettino years where they got second place, they got to a Champions League final, but they haven't actually won any silverware at the end of the day. If we're not going to win the Premier League, we need to be active in the rest of the cups. And yes, Arteta needs to learn from this season as well. We're going to hone in on the game on Sunday, and we're going to pull out and make it a broader discussion as well. You know, and I think Mikel Arteta, whether you love him or hate him, he does have the attention of the owners, and I do believe the owners will stump up cash for him. And he is, or what? War chest.
War chest.
And I believe that Mikel Arteta's ambitions match the ambitions of the fans. Now, he needs to learn game management. He needs to get better at game management, and he needs to get better. I'll go to Gary, because this is what you've been talking about all season, is squad rotation, Gary.
Yes, rotation's been my key word. When I say hello to everybody in the chat, so Stephen and there, the assembled, and Arsenio Wonga has joined us. Welcome to the show. But yeah, no, I've been talking rotation, and one reason why is I don't know. It might be it's definitely hindsight now, but did winning the FA Cup actually do Arteta any good?
I believe so.
Didn't do any bad.
The reason why I asked the question is what he did to win that FA Cup are the things that I believe he should be doing to win the cups that he coaches in now. Because he wasn't playing the players that he wanted, because he needed to rotate, which made sense. But then he also wasn't, setting up the squad to play to their strengths, like he did in that FA Cup run. Right, in that FA Cup run, he did everything he could to make sure we could get wins out of the games as best he could with the players that he had.
He went to the back three. There's a lot he did.
So I think there are things that he did in that thing that he didn't do. He doesn't do now with a squad. When he goes to his bench, he expects him to play exactly the same way as he does his starters. And I think those are the tactics that he's going to have to learn. I think that's where he's gone wrong for me, because we can't. I mean, Tierney is not Zinchenko, so why are we making him do things that he can't do, and then expecting, and then he looks bad because he's not in a comfortable situation. So then the style of play that we want to play doesn't work. Right?
But what's
So
the
if you,
alternative, though,
but
right? Can I just ask a question, though, Gary? What's the alternative? I hear what you're saying because they are different players, but what's the alternative? If his style of play is the way that he's playing Zinchenko, and then Zinchenko can't play, and the other left back is Tierney, what's he going to do? He's going to ask the other 10 players on the pitch now to adjust their game because Tierney's coming in, or is he going to be training in the week and
if it's
hoping that?
hurting if your system,
No,
but no, think about it. Well, no, what you
he's
just said, I
hoping that
get it.
Tierney
But
can.
when Tierney comes in there, what I see is the entire system break down. So if you're saying no, we should have Tierney continue to do what he does, the system breaks down, so now we're worse off. I say don't do that. I say at least adjust, because think about this: if we go down a
How?
man, we adjust immediately. We don't go, well, you know what? We're going
Well,
to
you
still
mean
play
like
our
we change
way
the
with less
formation?
men on the pitch. No, we adjust immediately, right? So players can adjust, and they will adjust in the situations that they have to. Like if they have to come, like when you bring in a new player, like Carrior, right? And he's playing next to Saliba or Gabriel, they should know there's certain things I can't do like I did before, because guess what? I'm not playing with one of the top center backs in the league, being Saliba, for example, right? So if I do these things, I'm putting my team in peril, and that's exactly what's happened, right? He goes in there and he plays the same way he would if he had a player next to him, and guess what? It looks bad, and then we falter. And I think players adjust. They adjust all the time. We see the players can adjust. They have to, and you have. It's the fact that we have one game a week, you have enough time to instill whatever you need to get it to work. So it's not like we got 2 games a week. No, towards the end of the last number of months, we've had like 1 game a week. So we've had opportunities to adjust to what players are going to play.
You make a good point, Gary, and let's then address that as well with Zinchenko and Tierney. Zinchenko is a different player to Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney looks out of place trying to play that inverted fullback role, Stan.
Yeah, sorry about that, Stan. I just
I'm here too. I'm here too, Ray. Don't forget me.
Yeah, I know. It's just that when Gary and Stan are having a back and forth discussion, we need to let it be back and forth for a second and play this thing out. Go ahead, Stan.
I mean, I look at it like if we played a certain way before we had Zinchenko, right? This is Mikel Arteta's 4th season. We played without an inverted left back before, so if and we can only you still only filled 11 players, right? So if Zinchenko is going to be out, Mikel Arteta's doing one of 2 things. He's either trying to get Tierney to replicate the same thing during the week in training, and he's asking him to step into the midfield to do what Zinchenko does, and that means other players around Tierney are going to have to really cover for him as well, because surely if you're not asking him to do that, you're going to say to his teammates, look out for him because he's going into different territory, or he's going to ask Tierney to play his game and we play how we were before we had Zinchenko. Personally, I would go with the latter and stick with the strength that, it's not like we couldn't play before we had Zinchenko. It wasn't like there was a big hole at the back and it was all confused. There is a way to play. And Zinchenko and Tierney can only do what he's asked. If he's asked to come into the midfield, then that's what he's going to have to do. So I get both sides of the argument, but as we're talking about the left back thing, and I know that it's silly season and there's all these links and stories, but we're going to talk about them. I just find it so weird that I keep seeing the story of Tierney being linked to Man City. I don't get that, because the reason I don't get it, I'm like, well, what's Pep's thinking? If Pep is the genius, the all-seeing knowledge of football and his streets ahead, and he plays with inverted fullbacks, why would he be interested in a Kieran Tierney that doesn't? Is it because Man City are going to be evolving into a completely different formation, like an MW formation or 4-4-2? Just things that I'm thinking about. We don't want Tierney anymore because he can't play that way. But then the team that's leading the way are interested in him. Maybe they're not interested in. Maybe it's just clickbait. But I do think about these things.
Stan, should we ask our Mikel Arteta to come up with a style of play that plays to Kieran Tierney's strengths when he's going to be playing the game? Change our formation I'm not saying we're going to change the whole team around, but Kieran Tierney's strength is not coming into midfield. We saw him in midfield against West Ham away from home. He looked kind of lost in that game.
As I say, we've played with Kieran Tierney in the football team in a way that worked before. So, you know.
Yeah. But we never did it with the inverted fullback. And the thing we did last season with Granit Xhaka was a reverse inverted fullback. We asked that midfielder, Granit Xhaka, to drop from midfield in a double pivot into that left back position.
Yes, lots of players did
I
drop
think
back last year.
part of Mikel Arteta's evolution needs to be understanding the players he has and not maybe forcing too much on their play, especially a player like Kieran Tierney, who was a player he inherited from Unai Emery, and credit to Kieran Tierney, he's actually been with the club for 4 or 5 years through all of these windows, right?
So much to talk with that. It only seems like half an hour ago where people were clamoring for him to be the captain of the club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that was very long ago. And now
you know what? And I definitely felt like he could definitely be the captain now. The problem is similar to the same thing that happened to Aubameyang. At some point, Arteta changed the way that he wanted to utilize the player. So basically, all you do is you just weaken the player in terms of how they perform on the pitch, and then they don't fit, right? They don't fit if they're being asked to do things they can't do, and that's what I believe I saw with Aubameyang, and that's what I'm seeing with Tierney now. He doesn't they're asking. He cannot play that position the way Zinchenko does. Everybody will say Zinchenko's out of the game, Tierney's in. Look how bad we look. Well, I think it's more because we're trying to play like we have Zinchenko. We don't.
You're basically playing a number 10 in Zinchenko, which has been transformative at left back, Gary.
Yep. So for me, when you do that, you weaken your team because now you're trying to play a style you can't. So now Tierney looks bad. Everybody's like, if you're not going to play him to his strengths, I say he has to go because then you're wasting his time and you're wasting your time. So either you play to the strengths with the 11 that you have. If there's going to be a weak link, and whenever we see a weak link, it basically crumbles the system. Same thing with like Holding. Holding comes in. He doesn't look as bad as you expect him to, but the system breaks down little by little here and there. Next thing you know, you're struggling. And that's kind of what I feel happens sometimes. We don't what do you call it, reinforce because we bring in a player with a different skill set. We just try to play the same way and it breaks down the entire system because now everything kind of crumbles around where the weakness is. That's kind of what I feel happens.
I'm just looking at Zinchenko's stats, right? And I've heard other people talking about how he's playing more as a 10. And you look at his stats, he's got 27 matches that he's played in. He's got 1 goal and 2 assists.
But he is the guy who builds up a lot of these, the build-up play that leads to chances for all of the other players.
There's stats that if you look at, I think the passing,
it's pretty
the passing just drops in certain areas of the pitch, and that's what hurts our attack, and that's when he's out of the game. So I think it's like you said, it's not necessarily the final, the goal, the assist, or anything like that. He's part of, but like you say, the build-up. But the team structure and the way we played just doesn't look right when he's out of the game because we don't have another person to do that. I think we do. I just don't think they play them, and I think we could play other players in that situation probably who can probably do better because they're more likely. That's their style.
He's one of the roots of the plant in our system. That he's at the bottom part of it.
I'm happy to freely admit that I've listened to other people that probably know more than football than I do, and they talk about Zinchenko and what it is that he brings to the team, and I've listened to them. However, just my opinion and how I look at the game, I'm not completely sold yet about some of the dangers. I know it's some people say high risk, high reward. Do you know what I mean? But I'm maybe not a high risk person. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, conservative. And that's natural as well, Stan. The mistakes that he's going to make. My brother-in-law, the Man City fan, told me about Zinchenko when we bought him. He's a great player, but he's defensively not sound, and he will he will look out of place against pacey wingers. And he's been actually literally out of place for many of the goals that have gone in. Whereas Zinchenko, well, he's in midfield and the ball's gone over his head. And Gabriel, we talked about it, it's been left on an island many
So is this
times.
what we have to live with then? Is that we have to
We
live
don't
with-
know. Yeah,
we have to
we
like
don't.
change. We have to accept then that we're playing a game where it is high risk, high reward. That we will, win games, but we won't keep a lot of clean sheets.
I didn't see the
You know what I mean?
Newcastle. I didn't see the
What?
Newcastle Brighton game, but Brighton lost to Everton last week because Everton took their chances on the counter attack. Brighton play a high risk, high reward game as well, and I don't know how the goals went in against Newcastle, but there was an own goal in there, as well. So that's how a lot of teams are playing now. Stephen said, looking back, I'm proud of the players. They gave everything they had and improved and grew as a team. I think they outgrew the manager who let them down by not improving his own failings. Mikel Arteta has said that in the press conference. He has made mistakes. I need him to understand his mistakes. I need us to get better players. Next season is going to help us have more possession and domination of games, and we're able to deal with a team like Brighton. My assessment of the Brighton game on Sundays was we didn't take our chances. We had clear-cut chances, and we didn't hit the target. If you don't hit the target in this league, you don't score goals.
Two shots on target.
Yes, 2 shots on targets. Odegaard refusing a shot again. He's been so good. He needs to trust himself. Take those shots, Odegaard.
He needs to take that armband, and when the team needs him, he needs to be the one. I mean, if he's looking at anyone, just look across at the team in the light blue with De Bruyne, right?
Yeah.
Similar area of the pitch that they play. Whenever they need something, who delivers? He delivers all the damn time.
Yeah.
That's not really what he does. That's not really what they need him to do always, right?
Do you think it could be a case of De Bruyne is 31? And,
No, no. You can't say that. No, because he's showing us. He's showing us right. He's leading the team in goals, and I think he's holding back. That's how good I believe he is. He has 15 goals, and I feel like what? He's not even taking enough shots.
Yeah.
That's the way that I see it.
We've seen quite a few of them where he's refused that shot, trying to feed another player. Reminds me a little bit of Anders Limpar. Anders Limpar was a player who wanted to feed his strikers, feed his wingers. Arsenio left his comment here. I said we'd get to it. Before we get into the Brighton game in depth, we'll talk about this. I'm going to be brutally honest. We aren't good enough to win a title. Most of the players in our squad are crap. Saka is overrated to the moon and back. Ramsdale is crap. Lisbon goal proves my point. My only reply to that, Arsenio, is I actually rate Ramsdale. I think he's pretty good, and I think he has saved us. He's won us quite a few points, I would say.
That's why he got a new contract today.
Exactly, and we'll talk about that. Saka is overrated because the manager persists with him. I don't think he's overrated, first of all. I think the manager keeps him on the field too much, and that's something where Trossard can play in that position. Gabriel Jesus, as Stan has said, can play right wing. I think Tony said that as well. I think we could be challenging for the title for 5 years and have a chance to win it 1 year. Being brutally honest,
I'm just looking at stats, right? And they're quite all over the place. Into the 2018-19 season, right? He played 19 matches and scored 2 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah.
Season after that, he played 35 matches, 13 goals, 20 assists.
Kevin De Bruyne,
season, 6 goals, 12 assists. So I'm just trying to. I think that. I mean, Odegaard, right? He scored 15 goals now, and I'm looking at Kevin De Bruyne, and into 21-22 season, right? Just recently, just gone, he scored 15 goals and had 8 assists. Similar numbers, to a Martin Odegaard, who's, I think, his goal tally from the position that he plays in midfield, it's almost like a Frank Lampard kind of numbers, right? And if he's at 24 years old, I know that he could have scored more. Like, there's chances that he could have pulled the trigger, but he's still got 15 goals. And I think that we're going to see that increase. I think he's going to break that record of 15 goals.
He's got to be consistent now, Stan, and do what
He might
Frank
break that
Lampard
record
did.
this season, and then he would. I think that record is Kevin De Bruyne's, right? 15 goals from open play. That's De Bruyne's record, and
Yeah,
he's tied
I
it.
wouldn't.
Tied
I
it.
wouldn't back against him doing that now against Nottingham Forest or Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. You know,
He could break it, right?
does anyone want to chime in on what Arsenio said? We aren't good enough to win the league title. Is that because of? Are we good enough without a City? I think we're good enough without a City. Question is, can we catch a City that is having a
Look
troubling
at the gap
season?
between us and third.
Big gap. Yes.
It's not like they're right on our heels.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as people have
But
said,
they're not
I
going to be
mean,
those teams. Those teams are not going to be that
We could
bad.
forfeit the next 2
again
games,
next
and they
season.
still wouldn't catch us.
no, but
Agreed,
does
Tony, yeah.
anybody believe that it will only be Arsenal and City next year?
No,
No.
I want 4 or 5 teams
So
challenging
if,
City.
with that in mind, that means it's not going to be as it's not going to be as easy to just get the point total that we're probably going to get this year. It's going to be a lot tougher, and you need to have a deeper squad to do that.
I want it
Right.
to be a season, Gary, where 85 points will win the league because those teams that are competing with us will take points off City as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just to go down the comments on this thing. I mean, we were good enough to win a title. If things went perfectly, or if the manager, I think, did things a little bit differently, there were points to be had there. So
Yeah.
I think that it was possible for us to win it. I mean, if Leicester City can win it in a fluke season, as some people keep calling it, fluke lucky season, then why we could have done it too. We didn't need to beat City to win the league. That everybody knew that, right? But so that's one thing. Next is Saka overrated. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. As far as I'm concerned, he plays for England. He looks one of the better players there. On his day for Arsenal, he's looked like one of the better players. Does he wear down? Yeah, he does wear down at the end of the season. Should he be playing as much? Probably not. Not at this stage in his career. I don't think he's built to handle that situation. Like some teams, and even the big teams, don't play their players that many minutes. He needs a little bit of rotation in there and a little bit of competition as well. You saw that with Martinelli, right? You bring in Trossard. Next thing you know, Martin. What's going on?
Yeah, Arsenio says, "Oh, he won us points." Okay, well, Seaman and Lehman won us the league.
Yeah, I don't think Ramsdale could be England's #1, right? And the Lisbon goal, what is it? Is that the Sporting goal that they were talking about?
Yeah, the Sporting goal. Yeah.
You know what? The thing I have with that Lisbon goal, how different did it look than the Brighton goal? And who was the defender that probably, if they just stood up, may have just cleared the ball just a second time. So Kirior could have definitely blocked the one in the Brighton game. Probably should have been able to do that in the Sporting game, and for some reason froze or whatever. I mean, it didn't look good when he went down and didn't get back up right away. I mean, if he was seriously hurt and he couldn't get back up all the way, then I get it. But he got up and he was fine like 30 seconds after that. All that situation happened. So it didn't look. It didn't look good. It didn't look good, and he's a young player and all of that. And that's probably one of the reasons why I probably didn't want him here, is because he's not ready. Because players in that situation don't stay down in that situation. Ball's flying through the middle and you're the center back. You got to get back up somehow. He stands up, he heads that ball and never makes it to his target. All right. The shortest guy in the pitch gets there. The shortest guy in the pitch heads that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I think that Sporting Lisbon goal was, if that guy tried it 100 times that night, he wouldn't have scored that goal.
Yeah, but if you're a defender, ducks, he's gonna.
I'm talking about get to the ball. The Sporting Lisbon goal. I'm talking about. The chip. It was perfectly weighted.
Naeem.
Yeah. I thought it was. I thought you were talking about the one where Kirior ducked.
Listen, we can talk about that as well. I think Kirior is really, really bad, and there's an expensive mistake there at the cost of probably losing 3 points.
Can I just say about that Kirior thing? When he went down on the last broadcast that we spoke about that, I was in quite a defensive mood. And I was I remember saying like, well, you don't know how it could have hurt him. He could have, but I've watched the match back and I've looked at it again. And in the words of Enzo Amore, Kivior was soft, big time.
Yeah, it's an expensive mistake for a
No, wait,
foreign
you learn.
player.
I believe you learn
learn.
that. You learn that if you've been playing football as long as I believe he has, you learn you don't.
You don't stop.
You can get up. You got to get back up. You're a center back. There's nobody behind you except for the goalkeeper. And if you don't protect your goalkeeper, you're going to screw him over. And he has to get back up.
Arsenio,
He didn't look like he was rubbing his leg. He looked like he was tying his shoelace or trying to get
Right,
his shoe
yeah,
back on.
yeah.
No,
He looked
you
bad.
got to get up and clear that ball.
Tony,
Do whatever you can.
Tony is
can't
holding
score.
on to a comment there for a few minutes. He's been
Sorry.
raising his hand very nicely as well.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them, but
Bunch
first,
of hands or comments.
Just get them all out, Tony. Don't hold back. Get them all out.
It's only been nice
First-
and serene because of the medication.
I know, but man, just let it all out. Give it all. Give it to us.
first you have to go back. Let's go back to last year. We actually had 2 wing backs, but played them as fullbacks. This year we have a center back and a midfielder playing inverted wing backs, which is kind of weird. But the whole thing, you go back to what Arteta said in the documentary, all or nothing. This is a waiver that play. I can switch players in and out, but this is a waiver that play. He has to get away from that. That's what cost us the championship. It isn't young players. You go to the young players, 3 of them in the Premier League that are up for the award: Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka. Saka's worth 120 million. He played about 3,800 minutes, which is about 1,000 too many. Shouldn't be playing in the cup games. So that's what Arteta does. He has to learn how to shuffle, rest players, trust the young players.
Got to be a takeaway, Tony. It's got to be a takeaway for him this season.
Yeah, but you
Why
said
did he
that
learn it
last
He
year.
didn't learn it last year. We're not asking him to do something he hasn't actually seen. The same problem that happened last year happened this year.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what
there's
I've
levels
asked-
to this.
I keep asking. What has Arteta improved on this year? And I've never got a clear answer from anybody because he
What,
has
do you
not
want to
gotten
know?
better.
Fuck.
He has
We've
not gotten
improved.
better.
We've improved on position in the league,
That's the players, Ray.
games we've lost, goals we've
Have we-
scored.
Have we improved in substitutions?
I think.
Game
I think.
management, man management. You can't blame Kior because he hasn't played any minutes. Instead, you got Rob Holding out there. You spend
Arsenio.
25 million. If you spend 25 million on a center back, are you gonna have him on the bench, Ray?
And Kivior.
Yeah.
Right. And Rob Holding. The Kivior Rob Holding thing.
I mean, I know who I'm choosing, but
Yeah. Well, hindsight is a great thing. We did mention
bitch.
that earlier. Huh?
It's a bitch.
Hindsight's a bitch. Arsenio Wonga said, next season, I'm not even going to lift myself again because I'll only get let down by Arsenal again. And, if you're competing against Man City, I think we've learned a valuable lesson this season. I've learned a valuable lesson. Tony knows I was talking about 8 points in January. Well, that got whittled away. And yes, we had it in our control. We could have gotten a win at West Ham, maybe a win against Southampton, certainly a win against Southampton at home. Those are the 2 big ones. And,
and Everton's a big one.
in the end, we talked about the City coming with a late run. We thought it wasn't happening all season, and it did happen. I think we now have to prepare for a team that can sustain a challenge and get stronger toward the end. We have to prepare so we can play and get stronger through the season. We had the opportunity where we got the lead, and we had to go for it. Stan.
I think there's a point that maybe some may be missing. I don't want to sound, facetious when I say this, but when I say that, but a lot of people were like, what about the lack of rotation and the substitutions? I think that maybe the penny has dropped with Mikel Arteta, and he looks at the bench and he realizes that they're not good enough. they're not good enough, and he doesn't want to dip into that well, which means that he's stuck with an 11. A lot of people were like, Trossard. When he was in, blah, 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 bring him in. Martinelli went off and Trossard comes in. And as much as that I like Trossard, but if the name of the game was hitting the crossbar, man, he would be champion.
He's been quite unlucky with that.
He would be champion.
We remember when he hits the crossbar.
And I do think that some of
games.
those substitutions at the end of that game was, putting on ESR and Nketiah and that. I don't think that he trusts a lot of these players, some of those players anymore. And I'm kind of paraphrasing from something that
for 100K and gave him a shirt.
Yeah, hold on. I'm kind of paraphrasing something that I heard on Arsenal Vision. I was listening to I think it was Tim Stillman, and it was something that I listened to and I've kind of bought into. If you look at the minutes that ESR has played, they've been consequential minutes, and I think that some of those substitutions in that game was Mikel Arteta wanted to validate himself that they're not good enough. Well, go on then. Go on and do something. And they didn't. And I think it was for him like a seal of validation where he knows now, if we need to get where we're going to have to be, I'm going to have to be ruthless. And that's the thing. I think Mikel Arteta is quite ruthless as a manager. And I'm one of these people that I'm not sentimental. I don't attach myself to players anymore. I think I stopped doing that after Bergkamp and Henry. Don't get me wrong. I've seen players come and go and have my favourites that I like, that I'm fond of. But if a player has to be upgraded upon and we've outgrown them as the team has moved on, I think in the 4 years now that Mikel Arteta has been there, we've outgrown some of the players. We've outgrown them. We've moved on. The team has moved in a different direction, and some of these players have to go. And I think that some of those substitutions was him validating himself and saying to himself, "Yeah,
we
imagine putting these players on in a Champions League game. It's not happening."
We have a big summer.
You didn't need to see them this year to know that most of those players weren't ready for the Champions League. I don't think it was the case where, okay, I need to prove that they're not ready for us. They're not. They were never ready. They weren't ready last year, and nothing changed over the course of the summer.
Who are you talking about specifically, Gary? Which players?
Well, who's Stan talking about? I assume
Eddie
he's thinking
Nketiah.
Reece Nelson,
Eddie
Nketiah.
Nelson.
Yeah. These aren't players that he's brought, are they?
Eddie.
They're players that have already been at the club.
But he's kept them.
He signed them, though. He re-signed all of them.
Extended Nketiah. Why would you, if you based on what you just
because
said,
maybe
so in like 6 months, he went from I need to re-up this guy for 100K.
Well,
nobody thought he was worth
Gary,
that. Give him a shirt. Nobody thought he was
with
deserving of that at the point. And then go, oh wait a second. Oh wait, he's the same player I thought he was. No,
the thing with Eddie Nketiah was, we were going to lose. Listen, this is the fact. Not that I wanted to keep him, but we were going to lose Eddie Nketiah on a free. And this is free agency playing a part here, where the agent, don't forget about the agent in this. They're the ones who can demand the money.
That never worked. When was the last time we re-upped a player and got the benefit afterwards? We never get the benefit, especially when, all right, we should just let them go and move on in a different direction. This whole concept of securing their worth never works because Arsenal doesn't improve their worth.
Right? That was the move. I re-up him. I keep his value.
Worth, so what's the point?
Because I'm only going to have to go out and find a guy. But you have to look at it this way, right? He's thinking, okay, this guy's going to go in a free. I haven't really got that. I've got some funds, but there's some other positions. I mean, if I get rid of this guy after getting rid of Lacazette and Aubameyang, I'm going to have to get someone in, and it's probably going to cost me a lot more. Maybe I can patch over with this guy, see how it goes, but I've kept hold of him and I can maybe try to resell him. I'm not saying I agree with that.
I'm not saying I agree
with that. I'm just trying to put myself into what the thinking was.
Sense what you're saying.
And now he's in a position where maybe he can sell that player and get some money in rather than being left on the free.
Not going to get back what you just put in.
Okay,
maybe not. Maybe not. We know that, Gary. He rips up contracts. There's so many players that we've let walk.
That's why when it was that based on that premise, and we know that he does that, just go get the player you want and not like hold on to this value that you're talking about.
Well, maybe he will this time. Maybe that's what the plan is. Maybe he will.
We would have lost. Listen, we would have lost Eddie Nketiah for nothing. Okay, and listen,
You think we would? You think it? You think it? You think it would have made a difference?
We've written off contracts for Aubameyang and other players as well. Yes, he's had his chance. And listen, if Arteta, and I believe Arteta's ambitious, if he's ambitious, we got to sell Nketiah in this summer. We got to sell Nketiah because I don't believe that Nketiah is part of where we should be going.
There's a lot of players,
season.
and that's why I say 5 to 10.
Yeah,
I understand the premise behind bringing El Neni back, but I don't, because if we were talking about Champions League football next year, the same way if we're going to talk about like Emile Smith-Rowe and all of them, El Neni's not ready for the Champions League either. And you know what? What I feel happens is we hold on to these players, and then it puts us in a situation where we don't go get the players that we need, because we put little trust and confidence in these players and loyalty into them. We don't actually go out there, as you say, and be ruthless. If we're ruthless, then El Neni's not going to work. Holding is not going to work. The way we play in Smith-Rowe, not going to work.
And I think
not there.
Holding, that's happened. He's put him, didn't he? He put him in, and then he was like, you know what? I'm playing that 2 left back thing, even though like the world might explode. I'm doing it.
He didn't need to do that. We knew that yesterday, though, Stan. We knew that in the start of the season.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah,
and I agree with the misfit with Eddie Nketiah. We've boxed ourselves in because we've got to hope that Eddie Nketiah is in a position where he knows he's not going to get any minutes at Arsenal, the ones that he wants, and is prepared to go to a club which will pay him less because he wants to play. Because if he's going to hold out, to be on a comparable, a comparable salary, that's going to be a long way, and we've boxed ourselves in with that.
Look, there is Premiership teams out there that could use Eddie. Brighton could use Eddie. West Ham could use Eddie. The Leicester are going to go down probably, right? Maybe not in the Forest. Could use a player like Eddie.
They got 3 strikers at West Ham.
There is money washing around in the Premier League, and 100,000 wages is a lot. 100,000 a week, but I think we have to be in a position where we move Eddie on, because that has not worked. The manager took a punt on him; it's not worked. The Assemble said, Arsenio, that's about the strength of it. I'd be surprised if we get top 3. To be honest, I suppose it'll depend on the war chest. Yeah. Arsenio says, I don't even think we'll get Rice or Caicedo. It's all a PR stunt to get the Panthers to line up to renew their season tickets for next season. I'm not fooled. I believe we'll get one or other of those players.
You know what? We get both, because we need to do something different. We can't just get a piece of the puzzle. We need to get probably all the puzzle pieces, all the big ones. You know what I mean? That's what I think we need. Because if not, guess what? We'll struggle. Not only that, but we're playing the Champions League. It's going to be even tougher. That if we're talking about a lot of the teams improving around us, that's going to make it even tougher. So now you have to take all that you just did and build on that. If you don't do it, all you're doing is just you're putting a Band-Aid on it, right? And
we can get into this in a little bit later, but if you want both those players, we're going to have to move some players on that Stan said some Arsenal fans are attached to, emotionally. Emile Smith-Rowe?
He doesn't play him, so what's the point of keeping him?
Exactly, but there are Arsenal fans out there.
Reece Nelson, he can't stay healthy.
We're talking about players where we agree that maybe we've outgrown them or we can upgrade on them, but there are some portions of the fan base where like they're attached to the player. And I'm like, okay, you like that player, but what if you get a better player?
Well, you know what I always say to that? It's not your team. It's not your team. No, it's not your team. You don't control whether the players leave or go. You know who does?
Yeah. Mikel Arteta and Edu.
Right? And if because everything that they've done in certain, like lately, has worked to some degree, right? I think the ones that didn't work is because they were looking long term and cheap and being cheap about it, right? They didn't need to go out and get like Fabio Vieira had to be ready to go. He wasn't. That kind of killed him. I don't know if he'll ever be ready, right?
Listen,
here we are, same thing. Maybe ready. It's a future plan, right? We looked at Lokonga. We looked at Nunez. 2 players once again for the future, right?
These are foreign
not ready. Not
These are
re-
foreign
we-
players that need
Everyone
time.
No, it
knows
maybe.
how
doesn't
much I
matter.
love.
But
I'm
we
talking
need
about being
players that can play
attached, right?
today.
I'm
We
talking about being
don't need
attached
players.
to players. I love
No, but we don't
Teabag,
need
but
players
it's not
that
happening,
need
is it?
time. We don't have the point. We don't have. We know when that time was when Saka and Martinelli and Erdegaard, or sorry, Saka and Martinelli, when they were playing, when they probably didn't need to, right? That's when you can bring in those types of players. We're past that stage now. Whatever phase we're in, the phase we're in now is the players need to come in and play. They need to come in and play. They need to have been playing at
It's,
the top level for a while, meaning they're older, or they're in the Premier League, and we don't have to go. We don't have to vet them into the league anymore. That's why you have to go and get the players that can play in this league. Because Arteta, he's getting players, foreign players. None of them have worked out. Barely any
Fabio
of them worked
Vieira.
out.
Fabio Vieira can play in this league. We
he's
just
gonna
haven't seen it.
You blow on him, he falls over.
We
No,
haven't seen it.
he's not ready yet.
I don't believe in that. You have to go in the gym.
He doesn't play fast
deal.
enough, and that's why he gets beat up when he
It's not
hangs
happening,
on the
is it?
ball too long.
Man
Yeah,
see
City
it.
have
You
Man
see it.
City have a couple of wafy players as well.
Yeah, but you know what? They play faster than you. He's not doing that either. You got
See,
to
the
do one
thing
or
is-
two things. If you're that slight that if somebody bumps into you, they can take the ball off you. You have to be a footballer and do something different. And he doesn't do that either.
You see, the thing is with Teabag, right? I look at him, and I really want him to do so well, but it's not happening. And I see people saying, "We'll send him out on loan next season." I think to myself, you can't bring a player in for about 35 million, which is I think is a good chunk of change, and send them out on loan. They're not like a youngster. But then I think to myself, well, we've done it with our record signing, right? 72 million Nicola Pepe. So maybe anything is possible. But I do.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that thinks like we paid good money for Teabag. We can't just send him out on loan. We've got to deal with this one in house, surely.
Let's get through a couple of comments here and get caught up here. Arsenio, that will be the summer debate. I don't think we'll get both myself, but we'll get an alternative. Heaven forbid, another Vieira. Which is
That's the problem. You have the answers right there in front of you, but you don't want to go take it because it costs too much.
All
you
right.
know what? You're going to spend the same amount of money because you're going to buy two players, and they're both not going to work. Whereas Casado will work. Rice will work. Why do I need to go out and go? You know what? I'm going to take a risk on somebody for half the price.
Just dampen your expectations.
Get half the player.
Dampen your expectations. Because I look at it like this. I'd love both. I love all that chatter. We're looking at both of them for 170. I love that chatter. But I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get excited until I see one or two of them holding up the shirt because I've been taken down this like dark lane before with Mikhail Mudryk. Man was like literally like, I'll sell my family to come to Arsenal. He went to Chelsea. So I like the chatter. I like the ambition. I hope we get both of them, but I'm not counting any eggs hatching. I see something.
There's a question a little bit on that one. Stephen said only Arteta could think that one of our best players from last season, and Emile Smith-Rowe, who saved Arteta, his job isn't good enough. Then maybe Arteta is more of a problem than we thought. And we had that situation with Martinelli. People thought Arteta didn't like Martinelli over Aubameyang. And look what's happening now. Martinelli's probably our highest goal scorer right now.
He's tied with
Odegaard. No one in the right mind will pay Nketiah those wages. He is unsellable. I think there's Premier League money out there. A team will buy Eddie Nketiah.
It's going to be one or two things. Arsenal's going to ask for too much because they think he's worth a certain amount, or he's not going to want to take a pay cut. How much do you think he's worth to the team? And whatever you say, it's probably half that. It's probably half that. Yeah.
About 10 million?
Oh, okay.
10, 12. What were you thinking?
He was 15 last year, so now what do we get? We should have sold him last year. We just lost. So basically his value went down.
He scored a few goals, but I don't think he's impressed me over the whole season.
We could have sold him for 12 or 15, I think it was. Remember? Crystal Palace wanted him? Yeah. We said no.
Famously.
Now you're saying he's 10, which, it's probably about right.
Yeah.
But, it's,
Gary, if you could get one of Declan Rice or Caicedo, which one would you get, Gary? You're in charge now, Gary. Who are you going to have in your midfield?
You know what? It is it's a catch-22 because with Rice, you're going to get, some seniority out there in the pitch. a player who's going to pretty much give you 100%, is, like you said, is always healthy. But then you got a Casado who I think gives you a little bit more of that grit, which I'm hoping is what Arteta feels he needs. You know what I mean? Like he took out somehow he took out Martinelli, didn't even get a card.
Was it accidentally, or was he sticking up for his mate, Mitoma?
He ran after him. There's no way. It's not like he accidentally he just clashed into him. No,
That was a little bit of after.
away from him.
Did you not see afterwards though? After he put Martinelli down, Caicedo walked past Mitoma, and they kind of like, he's like a cheers, mate. Like, you know, slapped hands and a little like thanks, mate, for like covering me.
See, you know what that is? You know what that is? You see Rodri, right? That's Rodri, right? He does those types of things where he puts a challenge in, and you're like pissed. We're pissed at him every time, right? And you know what? I don't get. I wouldn't
mind a bit of that though. Would you like that, Gary? Even though we're like going, look at him, even though we're going, look at him, the bastard, and he's shaking. Wouldn't you like that on our team? Wouldn't you like a little bit?
That's why I'm saying
we have a bit of that.
Arteta. No, we don't. We have anybody.
Erdegaard's done that.
Not like Casado.
Yeah, we're talking about
not like Rodri. No, he doesn't. I've never seen him do any of that kind of stuff. No. What are you watching? Is this on a video game or something? Because I've never seen him do that.
I'll show you.
You're gonna show me like one time he did it? No, I need him. He needs to be known for that. Like Rodri's known for that. I've seen Casado play 2 games now. He does that all the damn time. Right?
All right.
That's
so
what we need. We need that.
Taking, Gary?
I like him.
I'm thinking I'm gonna take Casado because one is a little bit younger, but 2, we need that guy. Like we need that guy to command, like control that middle the way he does. Because we get beat up anyways by that, right? You look at all these teams we played. We played Everton, they beat us up in the midfield, right? Casado's that guy beating the other team up. And we need some of that.
Steven, Arsenio, let me know who you're taking, Rice or Caicedo. Stan.
Casado for me is that player that if we get him now and we can get him for like 5 years, then he goes to somewhere like Madrid. I think he's going to be that good. And when the question is, could I, why can't we get both? I like the rumor. I'm not going to believe in it until I see it, but we could definitely utilize both.
Both of these.
There's definitely space for it. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Thomas.
We're going to buy an 80 mil player in January. Come on, we got enough play. We can buy both.
Mikel's itching to drop the big bucks, man. He's itching to drop big bucks.
If you told me everybody's going to get a little bit healthier in the squad, but you're going to solidify your midfield with a Casado and a Rice pickup, we're going to have to take some hits elsewhere, but we'll be much better.
But here's the thing, though. There's a little caveat. Here's one little caveat, right? I do remember hearing all of the similar things, preparing bids, speaking to the agent, player agrees the terms, preparing, flying out, player, blah, blah. The player saying, I'll sell my granny to come to you. And they go to Chelsea. I've seen it. I've been caught up in it. So I like hearing that we're looking at both of these players. But, we might end up with Trossard and Jorginho again, another stopgap or whatever. And Jorginho's a stopgap, right? We've got the money. We're in a great place now. We can offer Champions League. There's no doubt there. So it really is up to the people behind the scenes now to make these concrete offers. If they're saying like we want this amount, don't go in and start lowballing and let other people slip in. Oh, look at Arsenal, they've gone in for 80 million when they obviously, you know what I mean? Let's nip in there. Just put the money down if you're serious. None of this like bullshitting and £1.
Two of you for Casado. I will take Rice. I'll take Declan Rice. I think
I said both.
I know
you don't. You can't say both. That's not the question, Stan. You gotta follow the instructions.
Tony, Rice.
I'm worried about strikers.
Rice or Caicedo, Tony.
If you don't have a midfield, who cares what your striker is? Let's fix the midfield once again.
Rice
back to this. Where's our midfield? Can we fix that, please?
Though. I can't actually choose.
Tony, that amount of money, I'd rather get 2 decent ones than just one outstanding.
What is this 2 decent one? We keep shortchanging ourselves every time, and guess what? It comes out to be Lakanga and Nunez. I don't want to shortchange and Vieira. No, I don't want to shortchange. Or we get a broken down Partey when he comes in. Partey can't go past 20 games now. He's got a shelf life. No, go out there and get a good player.
Tony, Caicedo or Rice, Tony?
I don't care.
Oh, come on. Yes,
You're
you
going to be
do.
complaining
I
next year
do
when
this all the
Partey's
time.
Only she
I
wants
injured
don't.
Evan
and
and Dicker
Jorginho comes on and can't do the
from
job.
Frankfurt.
And when
I
Jaka is
don't
still
care
around,
about the names.
He wants Ainsley
I care
Maitland-Niles
about the
to come back.
qualities.
that's right. The
AMN.
MVP of the FA Cup.
AMN.
I care about the qualities.
I'll take Declan Rice. I think he's a captain. I think he's more vocal. He fits with the dressing room. He would be the perfect Partey
You're saying
replacement.
a young midfielder won't fit with this team either?
We do need both.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, I think Rice is tailor made for this team right now, and we're in a perfect situation. He can't go to Chelsea, right? He's looked at what Mudryk did. There's no way Rice would go to Chelsea.
Yeah, but he might go somewhere else. That's the other problem.
Yeah, I know.
Can we talk about Thomas Partey for a moment as we're talking about the midfield?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that comment there, I don't even know. Is that Arsenal?
Arsenio,
Arsenal?
make him Arsenal manager in 2 windows. You got Chouameni, Camavinga, Mbappe, João Felix, Neymar, Rafael Leao, Pavard, Max Aarons, Theo Hernandez, and Maignan. Unbeaten for 2 years now.
How much are we spending for that? $2 billion?
It's a little bit of wheeling dealing, all right.
It's like club takeover, and you get loads of dough. I always do that.
We are getting.
Stan's got 8, his missus has 9. So
that's a lot of players.
Yeah. That's 17 billion. We can afford it.
Can we talk about Thomas Partey, please, as we're talking about the midfield? Because if I go all the way back to when we bought him, when we like basically went over there in the middle of the night, paid the release clause, and was out before the sun was up, and like they woke up at Atletico Madrid and was like, "Where's Partey?"
That's not what Simone was saying.
And we were also pleased. And I mean, and then fast forward later on in the season, I hear people saying that, for the position that he plays, that there was no one better in the league. And then there was that huge drop off. What is the deal with Thomas Partey? I know that we all know that there's allegations of off-pitch shenanigans. Maybe that plays on someone's mind. I don't know. There was the talk about fasting, fasting for the first time, being 30 years old, body's not used to it. But we've kind of gone past that a little bit now. What is he going to come back into form? Are we looking at moving him on already?
We're in a situation.
I think that's a bullshit.
Okay, the question is, what's to do about Thomas Partey?
Tony, go first.
We've had all kinds of Muslim players. You got the people that do the diets. They can figure that out. It's not hard. NBA players do it because that's when the playoffs are. That's not.
There's more to
the
this.
Bullshit thing.
Tony's saying there's more to this.
I just think he's not good enough. He wears out. I don't think it's the.
We're in a situation.
Allegations.
Yeah,
but he came to us. Remember when he came to us? I remember a lot of people saying that he didn't get injured a lot he never got injured a lot in Spain. But then someone else said, but he never played 90 minutes.
Played the minutes. Yeah.
I mean, what's the deal with this guy?
Minutes. I've got 24 burned into Gary's mind now. I impacted Gary that way.
You know what? I kind of feel like the same way we talk about like Staka getting worn out. I think Partey worn out. Can he play a 38-game season? Nope. Can he play a 30-game season? Nope. Can he play a 20-game season? Probably. Right? And I mean 20 solid games where he comes in 20 games, you're like, yes, that's what we get out of him. That's where I think he is right now. I think that's why we see him wear down towards the end of the season and just not look the same. I understand the whole the fasting and all of that stuff, but he's not like what I saw him play. I saw him play in the North London Derby, and
Majestic.
I don't see that much.
Yeah.
I have not seen too many repeats of that.
You saw him live.
He was dominant in that game.
Yeah.
You go back and look at that North London Derby at the Emirates. Dominant in that game, right? So you're like, that's what we paid for, right? Can he do it every day? No. Not the way.
Part of it that he has nobody around him.
If we brought in Rice and
everybody's attacking and nobody's staying back for defense.
would
Yeah,
you
but
still keep Partey as part of it as rotation, or would you make
We're
way get
we're in
I
a
mean, to bring them
situation,
in? I
Stan. We're
think
in a
because you still
situation. Go ahead, Stan.
let's hang
Sorry.
on. I just want to ask you if he's like playing 20 games a season, and we bring in Casado and Rice, that means that we have more quality in depth because you can play right, but if you're not playing as many games and we're using him in like maybe Champions League, and do you know what I mean? Has he still got a place in the squad? Do you think?
well, okay, here we go. Tell me, Mahrez on the bench at City, quality player, right? Do we say does he, deserve more minutes? Yeah, he probably does, but does he need it? No. They just keep rotating their players, and guess what? They look good when they come out there. I think that's where we need to be.
Yeah.
That's where we should have been this year. I think we had
So we
some of the
add to
numbers to do
Partey.
that.
We
And
add
so,
to
yeah,
Partey. We
we
don't
need to
take
add
him
to
out.
Partey, and you know what? He should just, like you said, we need to be able to rotate our players, consistently. Not like as I said, he needs to look at his bench and go, I got numbers there. I can bring on anyone. I can fill any spot I want.
Or you have
We
to
talk
accept,
about
or you have to accept you're going to drop off a little bit in quality if you take Saka off and put Reece Nelson on. He's going to do a job for you. He'll
yeah, but
get
we
you
saw
through the
that
game.
when he came on for Saka, who went out early. Did we feel like the quality dropped in that game?
Not too much.
You know what I mean? So he has it in him. Can he do it every day? Probably not.
No.
Because
But you
remember there
got to
was that
that's why
stat.
you got to rotate those types of players in. Because
There
if you
was a
give
stat.
Nelson like starts and you give him lots of minutes, you're probably going to get that quality every time. Because he had the fire in his belly. He wanted to play, right? Every time he got out there, he gave you 110%. That's what you want from those players coming on.
There's
That's why Jota would come on and score
Nelson.
all the time, right? When he come on, 'cause he had that fire in his
And
belly. He
he's-
wanted to do
he's
something, you know.
Jada's picked it up again. Stan, you said there was a stat or something?
There was before Thomas Partey went off the ball. There was a stat that when he was out of the team, that's when we suffered. We always were better with him in it before he went off the ball. My other question is as well, as we're talking about players going off the ball, is I'm quite concerned about Tomiyasu. They're saying now that he'll be out till around about September, but then he's going to go away in January with Japan on international duty. It's like,
so. Can I answer the first one with Partey?
Yeah,
We're in a situation where Jorginho came in to cover El Neni's injury, but Jorginho has been better than Partey in recent weeks. So that's how far Partey's fallen off the cliff for me, and I think we have to move. We've moved
And we
past
played better in
Partey.
the midfield with Jorginho against City at the Emirates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean that was a game where we don't have Partey. Jorginho played in it, and we didn't look that bad. We made a couple of mistakes, and that's why we lost.
So what you're
that
saying
game,
is though, both players, Jorginho and Partey, both fit, able, and in form. Partey's the better player, but Partey had fallen so far down that it was best to play Jorginho.
Think about this. When we brought Jorginho in, I remember people saying this. He can come in to close out games. He's solid like that. We never use him like that. It's almost like Arteta has these plans, and a player has to do these plans for 90 minutes. Even if they can't, even if you're looking at them, you're like, this isn't working anymore. I need to take somebody off. He won't do it. It's like the plan only works for 90 minutes for the starters, and the only way I'm going to pull you out is if there's an injury or something ridiculous. No, you pull them out when what you're asking them to do doesn't work anymore. Yeah. Either they're tired or the other team has figured out a way you need to change things up with some fresh legs or whatnot. He won't do it.
Yeah, but that's Arteta just has this one way of playing. That's what he's gonna do.
No, but he's got an answer with Jorginho. He has an answer with Trossard. He still didn't do it. So we talk about depth. I want to see what is. We had Trossard and Jorginho. We never saw them come in and give him 30+ minutes in the games.
And that's when we started scoring 4 or 5 goals a game for fun.
So we talked a lot. We've gone for about an hour. It's been mostly about what we didn't do right. I want to maybe flip it on the head a little bit and talk about the things we did do right this season as well. But in between the two, the bad, relatively bad, right? Why we weren't as good as City in certain areas of our pitch that we need to get better. Let's talk about Brighton really quickly, and then we'll talk about the good stuff, this season has been for us. And yes, we can finish out the Tomiyasu. If he's injured and he continues to be injured with Tomiyasu, um,
Are we going to be talking about
we
players leaving and all that sort of
I think
stuff?
we need to move past Tomiyasu. If we're going to have injuries with Partey, we're going to have to move past all of that because where we're going, we can't carry players who are going to be injured for 15, 16 games a season.
Yeah, with
So,
Tierney, Tomiyasu, Partey, you can't trust any of them for more than 20 games.
So I'm going to open it up to all of you to talk about whatever you thought was negative or bad about the season. The Brighton game we'll talk about then, and then we'll talk about what was good this season, right? Gary, anything that we haven't talked about that was bad? We talked about Arteta, game management. You can reiterate some of the points. I don't want to pass over anything you want to say.
No,
Granite leaving. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well, Stan. Whether we believe that or not. I can throw some things at you, Gary.
Look, Gary
The
ran
left
out of
back.
thoughts.
Gary's
and words.
lost for
oh,
words.
no, you kind of because you had me going in different directions. I didn't know which way we were going.
I'm ready. I haven't
Go
got
ahead,
to say
Tony. Go ahead,
anything.
Tony.
The areas of our team that are up for surgery, maybe the left back position is not great. Kivior, do we trust Kivior? Maybe Holding's got to go. Do we trust the right back position? There's a lot of place to go here. Striker. Do we need a focal point of attack up front as well? Do we need a striker who can score more than 15 goals a season? You know,
We need 2 strikers, right?
that's a lot, right?
That's why we're like 5 to 10 plays out, and the reason why we're 5 to 10 plays out is because we have to. We don't know where we're going to get our win next year in terms of a trophy. We don't know where it is, so we can't take it for granted like we've been doing. And Arteta has to get it out of his skull that if he's going to put a team out there, that they have to play to their weaknesses sometimes. No, they got to play to their strengths. What's that?
Can we do it position by position?
I want to. No, I don't want to get bogged down, Tony. So
No, I just want to do it real quick.
Okay.
Left back. How many left backs do we need?
Well, we don't need to go into that. We know left.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't need to
That's
say how many players we
This is
need.
part
in
of
each
Gary's
position.
10 players. It adds up to 10.
We need Zinchenko plus another probably. Kieran Tierney.
We need one, right? So you could just say one, right? One.
Center back.
We need one behind
Saliba.
Yeah.
Right
one
back.
behind. Yeah.
One behind Saliba, right? Right back. We need a right back.
That's 3. Yeah.
Midfielders.
We need
at
2
least
midfielders.
At least 2.
Yeah.
That's 5.
Strikers. We have 0.
We need at least 1 striker to add to what we have.
We don't have a striker though, right? So we need 2 strikers.
We need 2 forwards then.
Yeah, I'm going to be more than that when we go back to 4-4-2.
I'm going to go forwards. All right.
I mean, that's 7 there, yeah.
Is that good, Tony? Did we cover that?
We cover everything except for wingers. Do we need any? I don't think we really do.
Is there anything else you want to speak about that was not great with Arteta, with the team? Stan, we've covered everything. Tony, we've covered everything.
What, are you talking about the overall of the season or Brighton?
Yeah,
or
the overall of the season, maybe the Brighton game, because I want to talk about the Brighton game for a few minutes, and then I want to talk about what was good this season. This is basically a season review. We know we're finishing second, right?
Well, if I'm looking at what I thought was bad with the manager, there have been times when I've looked at maybe some substitutions and queried, what he's doing. We seem to take our captain off quite a lot sometimes. When I think that maybe he's one of those players that he may be vacant in a period of the game, but he's one of those players that, like Saka, can pop up and give you something, even in the 92nd minute. But he knows more than me about whether if a player's in the red. So yeah, for me, I think when I look back at the season, it's been some of those changes sometimes within the game. Yeah. I also think as well, my biggest fault with the season as well is that after we had the Liverpool game and we had West Ham, and then Southampton, and then Man City. I think that during the West Ham and the Southampton games is when he should have gone for the rotation. That was the time to do it, so that we could then go into the Manchester City game with the first 11 as fresh as they can be and as sharp as they can be. And I think that if you notice what he done is he didn't do that. It was after the Man City game that the rotation came in, and I think that had we done that a few games back, it may have served us better. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him do that in hindsight, right? But we've got the beauty of looking back. So looking back, I would have liked to have gone for rotation after the Liverpool game.
KVR. Yeah.
Some sort of rotation.
And listen, we were 2-0 up again at West Ham, and we got lackadaisical in midfield. Partey, Rice, Bukayo Saka. If he scored that penalty, when you come second, there's a lot of what ifs. When you win something, you don't really care about the points that you dropped because you're going to win something, you know. But when you don't win, when you finish 6 points behind, you're looking at points where you could have improved. And as Gary said, if we were perfect, there was a way to do this. If we were perfect, if we didn't drop points at Everton, if we didn't drop points against Southampton, both the team that's bottom of the league, only 2 points out of 6 with Southampton. And Spencer, Bronco, and Virginia here, bad tactical substitutions, lack of rotation. There's a lot Arteta needs to. He will say he accepts the blame, but accepting the blame means you need to look at yourself and understand what you've done. We all can accept blame for what we've done, but we need to not do the same thing again. And we at times in the season, we all saw what needed to be done. You know, involve Trossard more. It never really happened in those 7 games where we only picked up 3 draws and 2 wins, 9 points out of.
You know, and somebody said, I think the way that he uses Trossard when he brings him on doesn't put him in a position to succeed. But when Trossard won those 7 games in a row that he played, of course he played up in the middle, right, like inverted or whatever. So I don't know about you, but I liked when we were winning those 7 games. I would like to have seen us continue. And I know we had talked about this is at one point in the season we had talked about, you know, when Jesus comes in, he starts right off in Eddie right away, right?
Yeah,
that's what we said, right? Because that's the easier one. But when Trossard's winning you 7, when you're winning 7 times with him in the lineup, you know, like,
and you're scoring 4 or 5 goals,
and then you pull him, you're like, wait a second, that's not Nketiah, right? This is
we went.
Trossard,
yeah, well,
you know?
he valued Jesus at that time over Trossard, which
I think some people had said if we didn't introduce Jesus the way he did, would we have played a little bit better, right?
That guy said it.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Jesus? Because do you remember after when he got injured? I don't know about you guys, but when he got that injury, I was like, oh, well, that's the end of that then, isn't it? It's over.
Yeah.
You know, we got rid of Lacazette and Aubameyang, and we only brought in one. What are we going to do? Somehow we managed to navigate our way through that. Somehow we managed to remain on top of the season. But now that I've had an opportunity to see Jesus up close and personal, this is just my opinion with my eye test. I look at Jesus and I look at him more as a wide forward, and I equate him a little bit to Theo Walcott. And when I say that, I say it like Theo Walcott was a right winger who was like, I want to play through the middle. I want to play through the middle with that number 14 shirt. I want to be like Thierry Henry. And eventually when he got his opportunity to play through the middle, it wasn't long after that he was going, can I go back on the right? I'll be right back. I think I'm a right winger. And I look at Jesus a little bit, and when he was at Man City, he's played through the middle for a while, but when he got moved over to the right-hand side after Aguero went and they played in that strange formation without a striker, I would see them playing with Jesus on the right-hand side, and he would still contribute in a really good way. like he would make assists, score goals. Yet for some reason, when he's come to Arsenal, I don't know what happens in the contract negotiation. I don't know if promises were made about positions or whatever. But I've always wondered why we've never seen him out on the right hand side, and maybe
Yeah.
take Saka off, he goes onto the right, and Trossard goes
Yeah,
through the
just
middle.
bits and pieces you've seen him, but not near enough.
So what I would like to see in the transfer window is that I would like us to buy a forward in the shape of a Vlahovic, that kind of a profile, a powerful forward. So there will be some games where Jesus, will play maybe in that position that he plays, but other times he can play on the right. And I don't know why we've never gone there. I just look at Jesus now that I've seen him up and close personal. I don't know what you guys think. I just see him as more of a wide player, not a guy through the middle that's going to give me 25 goals. Do you know what I mean?
I think he looked good on the left because sometimes they would bring Eddie on, play Eddie in the middle and Jesus on the left. To me, he's not a striker. I agree with you. I'd use him for backup for Saka, backup for Martinelli, give those guys some rest. But to me, you kind of mentioned Walcott. I kind of think of Sanchez too because he was more of a winger.
Or is this the way that we have to? Is this the way that we're going to play now, where we have this formation where the person in the middle plays in that style of a Jesus? And remember when he came back from his injury, we were talking. We said, like, how many goals do we think he can get in the next? Remember, can he get 10 goals? Do you remember that? And he's already. Oh, what? No, was it like, no, we said 5 goals in 10 games. That was it. Do you remember? And it looks like he's achieved that. But if you look at it on the whole, is that the way that we're going to play football now? We have to count on people like Martinelli, Odegaard to get his 15. We got to count on Saka to contribute, and we're not reliant as someone. Or do we need to add?
But if you're gonna get at least 15 goals from your front 3 players, you'll take that, right?
How many goals has Jesus got now this season in games?
10.
And how many games?
Well, I think we went 16.
I think his stats a little bit more than one every 2 games, isn't it?
Probably about 25 games.
Yeah, he's played in 31, 25 starts.
25
I don't know if that might be some cup games or something.
All competitions.
And he really doesn't have anyone. If he's going to be our striker through the middle, he doesn't really have anyone challenging him, does he?
Not yet.
Eddie's not challenging him, is he? Is that
no? I mean,
would you be fired? If you was Jesus and Eddie was behind you, he'd be like, "Oh, fucking hell."
No, but that's why most people said, "Why is Eddie here?" Because he doesn't do anything for us. He's not going to take the spot from Jesus if he's healthy, the way Arteta uses it. So he's not really helping the team. We need to have a strong the depth behind our players. Our starters needs to be pretty good.
And versatility.
Why does it seem that we're being very quick to put a price and get rid of Balogun? Everyone says it's a farmers league, but
he'll generate more cash.
I mean, Mbappe plays in the farmers league and he's doing as well as him. I mean, why are we not looking at someone from within and saying, okay, well done there in France. Come back and why can't he give Eddie a run? Do you know what I mean? Why can't we make a hasty decision? Do we need the 40 million or 30 million that bad that we need to sell Balogun? And do you know what surprised me was in the same week, about maybe 3 weeks ago, I read a story. Almost like in one breath, I was reading about Balogun being sold. He's playing in the French league. We're selling him for this amount. And in the next story, I read Arsenal looking at a young French striker who plays in France in the same league, is around about the same age as Balogun, but hasn't scored as many goals. And I'm thinking, well, why? What does that mean?
We don't know. We don't know if Balogun is going to be sold. We don't know. Spencer says getting rid of Balogun is a mistake, in my opinion. I agree with this, but there's some.
I mean, I hear the reason why they want to sell him is because he said he wants first team football, and I'm like, well, he should want first team football, and that's what you need.
Come back and
Because
fight
we're
for
not
it.
we're not gonna bring we're not gonna we,
Isn't
we
that the
can't get to the point
conversation?
now where we're bringing in, as people said,
Back
backups,
yourself,
right?
right?
We don't need backups.
But
We need
isn't
first
that?
team players.
But shouldn't
No, think about it. We need first team players like a Trossard who can start, like a Jorginho that can start, right? What other players on our that don't start can you look at and go, they can start for Arsenal?
Can I just say, right? You're the manager of Arsenal, right? You've got Balogun who's been through your
Balogun is worth
academy.
more than
He's been out
Nketiah.
on loan. He's doing really well, and he's like, you're like, okay, well, you're coming back after the loan back to Arsenal. He's like, well, he starts talking about minutes, and surely the conversation is, listen, you're one of our own. You've come through the academy and that. You've proven yourself. You want minutes? Come back and earn those minutes, Eddie.
And
Yeah,
Eddie,
you know you. And,
why can't you
and
take
we already
Eddie
know
down?
he was.
Why can't you take Eddie down? And once you've taken Eddie down, then what's in your sights next?
Jesus.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself, that should be the conversation, not like I want minutes or I can't promise you minutes, I'm going to sell
There
you.
could be.
Do
There
you know
could be
what
a
I mean?
situation. The lineup could be Martinelli on the left, Balogun and through
Doesn't
the
even
middle,
matter.
and
We
Gabriel
have to have
Jesus on the
players.
right.
We have to have
instead of
players
Saka.
that can all start. We keep talking about this. We don't want to bring in players that we're like, well, you can get spot minutes here and there. No, they need to be able to start. And
Yeah.
based on what we just saw, we need quality players to come in because when we play a Champions League game, they're not always going to play that
Here
weekend.
we go.
Right?
Champions League is
But here's another vision, right? We're in the Champions League. We're in the Champions League group game, right? We're playing Team X. We're doing really well at home. Why can't Balogun come off the bench?
Exactly.
getting at.
Tony, we're going to have this discussion this coming season. Champions League. Here we go again, Tony.
No, I was just going to say 80
Tuesdays
minutes.
and Wednesdays. Yay!
80-minute substitutions has to be no more, Arteta. Nobody comes in 80 minutes unless there's an injury.
But you didn't do that in the cups, which is weird.
I don't care what. No, just they don't happen ever again. Nobody comes in 8 because we have I think somebody said or there's a stat. We bring in a lot of players after 80 minutes, after 75 minutes, or something ridiculous like that. And it's like, why? We're not bringing it in for strategic reasons because most of those come in, and we know that that's not
rotation,
for
Gary.
reason.
We got it.
Your
You're
rotation
right,
can't be in 80 minutes.
I agree with you. You're right. This is where we need to be better next season. 60 minutes rotation. Balogun is worth more than Nketiah assembled. Yes.
Do you remember what the average is for the league for substitution?
I don't know, 82 minutes or something for
61 minutes and 38 seconds.
Are you going to tell me the average Arteta does now? It's way more than that, right?
Yeah, it's probably 75.
Think about it. Think about it. In that game, the Brighton game, our first substitution, of course, one was the injuries, but we didn't bring it. We didn't substitute until after they scored.
And the thing
they scored in the 50th minute.
Whatever you were doing with your starting 11 wasn't working. Something needed to change. How many games are we going to go in where the first 45 minutes you look at it and go, well, this isn't working. None of this is working.
Why was it not working? What was not working?
We weren't scoring.
Here we go. We're going to talk about Brighton now.
Yeah.
Here's my take on it.
I watched that game and I couldn't. I was like, you look at 11 players, you're like, that doesn't even look like our team out there. Something needed to change, and that's why
it as well.
Spark needed to happen.
All right.
And I don't think he was going to be able to turn on these players because he hasn't done it all season.
You
the way
go
I
first.
expected it to work. So I kind of felt like, he needed to make a change and just change things up a little bit, right? He needed to either bring the Nelson on at halftime and see how it goes.
Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. This is the Brighton game for me. I didn't see the highlights. I didn't watch the game on Mother's Day. I was busy. Came back, watched the game, I think, Wednesday night. And I saw an Arsenal team that played really, really well for the first half. For the first 50 minutes, we played really, really well. The only problem was, Gary, we didn't score. We didn't hit the target. And we had chances. Odegaard refused the shot. Gabriel Jesus had a tight shot from a tight angle. Trossard, the ball's deflected up off of Gross's foot onto the crossbar. The biggest chance was by Bukayo Saka just before halftime. We should have probably gone in 1-0. Would not have been unfair to go in 1-0. The game's different. You go in at halftime at 1-0, the game's different. And I thought we actually played quite well for 3 or 4 minutes up until that goal that they scored. And yes, Brighton are a very, very good team. They seem to enjoy coming to upset Arsenal.
Ray, do you remember? Ray, do you remember before kickoff? I sent you a text message.
Yeah, and CISO.
I said to you, what did I say? I said, watch
He had a
that
dream or something.
19-year-old in CISO. I've got a feeling about him, something like that.
Yeah.
And then after he scored, I sent you another one that said, I fucking told you.
Mhm. Yeah. The thing about Brighton is they are a team that's very well constructed. They have analytics. They find the best cheap.
They
the
can't.
cheapest-
They're not supposed to be better than us. I'm very sorry.
Hold
You
on,
can-
Gary.
You can pump them up all you want. No, I'm not taking it.
On any given
We're
day,
not sitting second because
On any
we're
given
crap,
Sunday.
No.
right?
On any given Sunday.
we didn't play like we're the team that's second in the league. I'm
Ray-
sorry, you can't
Ray's
make them
giving
up
him
and
a false job.
then make
Fuck
that
him
be
up.
the reason.
Ray.
Nah, not having it.
hear
Not
me
having
out.
it for that game. Not having
Hear
it for that
me
game.
out. Hear me out. There was fine margins. We beat Newcastle on fine margins, right? We could have got a goal down in Newcastle. We didn't. We got the first goal. First goals matter in these games. You know, in these big games, you got 11 Brighton players who were energized to go out there because they were beaten 5-1 at home by Everton. They needed a performance, and those players dug in and fought for their manager.
I disagree
They
with
played-
you, Ray.
They played 2 physical players against our wingers,
How do you
Caicedo.
think we've been playing lately?
and
You
it's
think we didn't
Stupian.
deserve? Why is our mindset not exactly the same? Because we just beat Chelsea.
Our mindset
Everybody
was
beats
the
Chelsea.
same.
That's not
We
an
just
indictment
didn't
on.
score. We didn't score.
Ray.
And this was not a 3-0, but it was a 3-0. We lost 3-0
I
because
was another 3-0 when I was 3-0.
because it was 1-0 until 87 minutes, and then they got 2 goals when we were trying to do daft things, and we lose 3-0. You know,
Ray, what did we accelerate early in the year? Any team scored on us, we'd go back, take the league back. We did that till the World Cup came back. That went away. You can blame it on the players being tired, stale tactics, because that's one thing what teams figured out, especially Brighton. We're playing the high line again. And then just a long ball to the right or left corner, and you're in.
here Brighton have a setup where they get the best players from all over the world. You know, you got to give them credit for what they do. They play a very risky game as well. They
Why
lost.
can't we play the same
They've
style?
lost 5-1 and they lost 4-1 either side of our fixture. They beat us 3-0. That's the Premier League. On
Okay,
any
well, I'm
given
looking at our
Sunday.
lineup. So outside of Kyrior, we had basically a very strong lineup as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
So that doesn't hit cold water either. What you're just saying there. Who's Evan Ferguson? I don't even know. I heard he
He's
started. I don't-
Irish. Put some
I-
respect
Go on,
on his
Ryan.
name.
Yeah, who is he though? Who is he? Right?
Bohemian,
You know what
former
I mean?
Bohemian player.
No, but what I'm saying is we had good
Yeah.
players on the pitch according to
Ray's in
their
there.
name and where they came from. You know.
Yes.
So yeah, right. Saka, as you said, one of the top young players. Martinelli, one of the top young players. Gabriel Jesus, one of the some people said the one of the best transfers in the summer kind of thing. So as a team, we did as much as you say I didn't go back and look at the game. I was sitting there trying to
I
talk
saw
about
it
it,
once.
and it
saw
did
it
not
once
look like it
myself.
could. We did not look.
That's the
like
beauty
a
of the
team
game.
that was coming
But this
to
is the beauty of the game, Gary. It's a team game, right? And on the day, Brighton were better than us, and
Yeah.
they're a team that I've admired for quite some time, even during the Potter days.
I don't like
Yeah.
them, but you
I
got
like them. I do. I like them, and I it's funny because I'm from South
That's
London.
what I say. Why can't we play that style?
I'm from South
football?
London, and there's a lot of overspill of a lot of friends
Well,
of
we
mine
do.
that live,
We do,
that live
Tony.
in Brighton. They live there. I've got a lot of friends that live in Brighton from an overspill of South London. A lot of my friends move there. But I really like the team. the way that they do their business, the way that they play, the way that they're able to find players. You know, again, like they find players like Casado, where Casado gets plucked from nowhere and is at Brighton, and then he will, you know, come to Arsenal for maybe 5 years, and then from Arsenal go on to like a Madrid.
Mhm.
They get that player at that stage before we do, if that makes any sense, you know.
And they
It's
bring him
very
for
good.
3 million. They bring him for 3 million, sell him for 90 million.
Enciso, another one. Matoma.
They
very good.
they have been a thorn on our side, as Spencer said.
They should be our feeder club.
So
We-
what is it? Are we?
They're becoming
Well,
that.
What is it? What is it? What is it? Reece Nelson supposedly was one of the top players when he was young, coming up, right?
Wait,
Better
Gary.
than Sacker in terms of when he came in. That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
listen.
So
But he's
why
not-
did we not like? But I'm saying the way we've been playing all season, all of a sudden that did not look like the team, especially that had just gone through a rough.
Do you know what
patch
the difference
and
is,
wanted
Gary?
to fight for it, right?
You know, the difference is someone like a Reece Nelson coming through as a hot prospect. It's a lot harder doing that at a club at Arsenal than it is at a Brighton. Do you know what I mean? Because there's more at stake.
Look
You know,
at Brighton.
the gamble.
You're saying he's not.
I mean,
you're saying he's not.
Look at that
So why
guy
are we
that we've
going
had
to
on the
keep him then?
bench all
Because he's
season.
not.
What's his name?
He's not.
Hang on.
He's not.
Walters.
He's not going to work here then if he can't.
Look at that
do
guy
that.
we've had on the bench
What?
all season. What's his name? Walters. We've had this guy on the bench all season. Walters. I
Yeah.
never heard of him. I don't watch the youths and all that, but he's
All right.
not getting. He's not
Here's-
getting on any minutes.
Here's the biggest difference, right? Brighton are a selling club. Arsenal are a buying club. Brighton don't have to win the league. Arsenal have to challenge for the league. Brighton have lost 10 or 12 games this season. They bring players into their setup, and those players know if they play well for a season or two, they will get their move to a big.
Should we have
big
lost
club.
that game?
But how
Should
many-
we didn't take our
No.
chances.
How
We
many
didn't take our
players from
chances.
Brighton
That
conceded
game
in
was
we
as
Serie
rolled
bad as
one
people
window?
Newcastle last
over
year,
at one
right?
point. We stopped playing football.
They can't sell them
Come
all.
on, it wasn't just that we missed some chances. They stopped playing.
They were
did. We've seen a sense of urgency from this team. We saw it in the Southampton game, right? We saw a sense of urgency. No matter what, they were going to get a score. We didn't see that at home,
Mhm.
right? The whole that string of games that they went through, they finally come home and then they play like that. That
It
has
was-
nothing to do with fine margins. That's the mentality where, you know what, we will not be beaten at home. We're going to do everything we can to get this win. That team did not try to get that win.
But
no
Bukayo Saka,
hard, right?
before halftime, Bukayo Saka didn't try to miss. He tried to score, but he didn't score. He didn't hit the target.
You have to go
Trossard.
again, right?
Trossard.
They did not go again. They need to continue to put pressure and continue to go again.
And they were
Eventually,
doing
they were
that
gonna
in the
break through.
second half. For 5 minutes the second half, they were doing that. They
Hey, we only had 10 shots.
Brighton scored
on
in
target.
the 50th. Brighton scored in the 50th minute when we were trying to get going again in the second half. If you're going to concede a goal, that's probably the worst time in the second half.
That mistake by
It's the
Trossard
goal.
kind of reminds me of this mistake by Partey when he was trying to like play it sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
understand those kind of mistakes, man. But I think that game could have gone another way because we had some real close misses. But if you don't put them away, there were times when Brighton looked like the home team. There were times in that game for big spells that you'd think that it was playing at Brighton, the way that they dominated us. They dominated us, and they were very
Possession.
physical in their challenges as well.
How different did that game look?
But they
from
didn't play
Everton,
out of
man?
order.
Everton, who also was sitting 19th when we played them. Southampton, who was sitting 20th when we played them. I mean, we're talking about teams that we should be beating. We come out flat on them, right?
Yeah.
Once again, Brighton come out flat again. Like for me, was there something that Arteta just overlooked coming into the game in terms of maybe he should have just changed the lineup entirely because he wasn't going to get what he
I'm
needed out of
telling
his
you, Gary,
players?
they were thinking about the Man City game before they kicked off at Southampton.
That's Arteta then, because the
Telling
players
you.
can't be thinking ahead.
Telling you.
And if you
I'm
look at
telling
how
you
we
now.
played going into the City match, we always were falling on our
And the reason
flat on our face each
The
time.
reason I say it was, and I've mentioned it before, Charles Watts about 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks ago, was saying that obviously, you know, Charles Watts, he's around the club a lot. He was saying that all season, all our Arsenal, the club, people behind the scenes have been talking about what they're doing, what they're about. And he said, I think it was like a couple of weeks before the Man City game, now people are talking about the Man City game.
City, yeah. And
First time he's
there's
noticed it, that they're thinking ahead.
there's things that we have learned as a club, as a fan base, the players, the manager must have learned from this season that we will take into next
What did
season.
he learn from sitting next to Pep that he thinks about tomorrow, the game next week, or the next game? You know what I mean? So, nah, you spent all that time next to Pep, and Pep's thinking about, oh, I got to play Arsenal in a couple of weeks. No, Pep's thinking about the next game, like
But
everybody
maybe
else.
the players are thinking about Man City.
No, that's Arteta's job to get that out. No, we're not.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
get
have
ya,
time
I
to
get
think
ya,
about
I
the
get
City
that,
game.
but
Guess what? We got to play Everton. Guess what? Everton thinks they're going to beat us because new manager bounce. That's not going to happen. You know why?
I
'Cause
don't.
we just won 7 games in a row. That's not going to happen today. You know what I mean? Nah, we're better than that squad. We're going to go out there and show them
maybe
why.
Zinchenko and Jesus were talking about City all the time, and it was like, all right, fuck you know, you're
Um,
Arsenal. Man. I don't.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, no, but think about it. The mentality going into that Everton game was like, oh, we're beat because this is a new manager bounce. The way we played, give up a goal. Nah. We're not. You have to have a different kind of mentality going into these games.
That was probably our worst performance of the season, right? Everton away, right?
I think the Brighton
But
game
we
for
put
me
it right,
also.
didn't we? We put it right.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
That's
Why
what
do I
I
have to put
liked
it right? Why
about
just
that.
fix
I
it when
really
get
like that Everton game because
Fix
the
it
one
first time, Stan.
we played them, we had the Sean Dyche in there with his opal fruits, and it all fucked us up. And I was like, we're playing them again soon. Let's see how we respond. And we adjusted.
You need
I
to
like
adjust within the
I
game.
like
We
that.
can't be adjusting the
I
next game.
know. I'm just
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? We need to
know.
come out like we come out against Southampton. We go down 2-0. Nah, for the next
I know,
60
Gary, but
minutes,
I'm
guess
just looking
what?
at the ice
It's
cream.
our game. We're a better team than this. Not we're gonna go
I'm
down
looking at the
3-1
positive.
and then we're gonna
I'm
respond.
looking at. I know, but I'm
We
looking at the
we
glass
all
half full
analysed.
part of it. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
sad that we only got a point in the first game, but I really like the way that it was only a few weeks later that we faced them again and we put them to the sword. I like that.
We all
We lost
really
to
like
Everton.
that.
We didn't get a point.
Stan.
We lost
Stan,
Everton.
Gary. We all analyze things differently, all right?
I thought it was
As
0-0.
Arsenal fans, I'll get to you, Tony. Spencer said on my preview this week, I mentioned the Odegaard comment about mentality. I would recommend people read his comments
I saw
after
that.
the game.
saw that.
Perspective on your role in this league. There's
Know your
teams who
role.
are there to make money and sell players. There's teams who are there to buy players. We're not in a position to develop players like Brighton. Brighton are developing players. Everyone says that De Zerbi's doing a great job. Well, his remit is to bring players in. He has to use players through the season, but he knows he's going to lose 3 or 4 of them in the summer. 3 or 4 of that team are going to be sold.
What did
Do you
that
reckon
manager
it's gonna be
say?
that
What did that manager say going into this game?
He said, we were beaten 5-1 by Everton. You're going to see a performance from my team.
When's the last
That's
time
what
you
he
see
said.
Arteta say that and his team back him up?
Like, I've seen, have we
Well,
lost
we've never
two
seen
games?
legal season.
I don't believe I've ever heard Arteta say
Have
my
we
team's going
lost
to come out.
two games?
No, Gary, he's not
in a
said
row?
it. He's not said it because we've been sitting top of the league since day one. So he's not had to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when you lose to City
Have we
twice in a
lost
4-game
5-1?
stretch and you don't say it out loud, then there's a problem.
Who beat us 5-1?
Yeah.
5-1? Who said 5-1?
Brighton were beaten 5-1 by
That's why
Everton.
he said it.
De Zerbi said, you'll get a performance from my team.
We ain't been beaten 5-1.
When we lost to City 1-0 in the cup game with their backups in, and then turn around playing Everton, that should be a win, right?
Every now and then.
Right.
That was a period of the season where Nketiah was running out of legs. Jesus was still out injured.
That's why the manager has to do something different.
Yeah.
Everybody could tell Nketiah wasn't going to hold up and do what he's been doing, getting us through these games. At some point, you needed to rotate, even with your. That's why you're supposed to have 3 strikers.
Barry
Right?
said that in capital letters.
Rotate.
On
All caps.
Oh, the big O.
What's
big
that?
T.
On
Come
the
on.
bike,
Cat block.
yeah, Peloton, right? Rotate. Sorry. Arsenio, Tony, I'll go to you first before Arsenio. You've been waiting patiently, Tony. You had a point
One
5
thing
minutes
we-
ago.
Yeah, one thing we forgot to mention here. What keeps going wrong? No. Take a
It's a
second.
trick question. Haven't we been saying that
Yes.
the
This
entire
sounds like a
it's a-
Tom
the
question.
last
It is a
104
trick-
We've just been,
It is a
we've just been
trick
telling you, Tony, for the last
You
hour
don't
and 45
reschedule
minutes.
games. If we played City last year, I
Nah,
think
they
we'd
can't
have
be
the trophy.
excuses. We can't make excuses. Go because we didn't play them because we didn't play them early in the season. So that's the reason why we
Gary's not
played so
accepting these
crappy.
things.
Nah. You can't take
I'm saying
2-0
we
lead
would've,
on.
Gary.
You take a 2-0 lead on Liverpool, give it away. Nope. Next game, 2-0 lead on West Ham, give it away. No. Then you go down 2-0 to Southampton, 3 games in a row. Nah, that has nothing to do with City. That
You
has
know why
nothing
that happens, Gary?
to happen, Tony.
Because we're like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
'Cause we
Give it
don't
away,
fucking
give it away,
rotate,
give it away
Gary.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't
Retired.
rotate.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Tony, Arsenio says, big up everybody who went through the roller coaster this season. I told you, Tony. It's a
I
roller
ain't going
coaster.
through no fucking roller coaster.
I took the sucker punch of us dropping points in them 3 games. But God bless
Do
all
you know
of you.
what we did not take a roller coaster. I can't remember what it's called, but the thing that lifts you up and just fucking drops you. That's what happened to us.
Hulk Hogan.
No,
Yeah,
those
he does
rides.
that too.
Those rides are on like a wheel, but they drop you and you like shoot out.
Unfortunately, now with 2 games to go, we're playing for pride. But
We were supposed to be playing for Pride after we lost to City.
Mhm.
Win the next 5. Let's see how it goes.
Yep.
We didn't play like that at all. It's all like nah. We screwed it
Gary,
up.
I
Doesn't matter what we
feel,
do from the next 2 games.
Gary, it was fine margins for this Brighton game.
Oh my
And-
gosh, fine units, fine margins, crap.
What?
Nah.
Tell me what
I think
chance?
it was every bit as bad as
Tell me,
Newcastle last
Gary,
year.
what
What
chances
fucking game
did
were you
Brighton
watching,
have
Ray?
in the first
I want
half?
to know what game you were watching on Wednesday.
Did
Ray.
you feel quite confident of our control
I
of
didn't
the
think
first half?
we looked good, like we were gonna get this game. That's how I felt watching that game. I told you I was speechless. I was like, this doesn't look like we're gonna get anything
They
out
had
of this game.
more possession,
it
more
was-
shots.
Yeah.
Like he said, his team's gonna come out there and play, and they played tough. They played like they had something to prove, and we came out there and we kind of rolled over. I mean, yeah, we didn't look like we needed to. I know there might have been chance. We always have chances to score. Every game we have chances to score. Right? We could have beat Liverpool because of those chances we always get. We could have beat West Ham because of the chances we get. Right? Could have even beat Southampton because of those chances. Right? We
So
had a
why didn't
goal
we-
late in
why
that
aren't we
game, and we
scoring?
almost got the 4th goal. Right?
Why aren't we scoring?
So we always getting the chances. We just need to create more and
Or get
play
a
with a
better
little bit more
person.
sense
I'll get a
little
better
sense
person
of
that can
energy.
finish.
That
Get someone
too,
that can
yeah.
put them away. Someone that can jump up and head the ball. It doesn't go wide. It goes in the net.
We've been calling for that for years now. We've been
It's
calling
all
for
well.
that.
It's like it's all well and
even when we
good.
had Aubameyang, we were calling for that because you
It's
remember
all
we had
well and good,
Aubameyang. We're
like-
like, Aubameyang is not in the air; is like worthless.
Can I just say it's all well and good, like the ball coming in from the byline across the goal line and having somebody running in and sliding in, but it doesn't go in the net. And you're like, oh, look at him putting his body on the line and that. There's only so many times you can see that without it going in the net. It's all well and good that they're going for it and they're
But
trying.
you
You know
basically
what I mean? They're
only
actually
have
going for it. But if they're not, if it's not going in the
Gabriel's
back
the
of
only
the
one
net,
that can go
then
into those headers.
that's
Yeah.
the difference.
They at the top level, the professional level, you're not going to play. Sometimes you can't play a pretty game, and those Brighton players knew they weren't going to play a pretty game. They were going to play a game in the trenches, and they got dirty goals off of us.
It can't be that hard to find a younger version.
That cross for Enciso. The guy doesn't even cross it properly. It bobbles into the ground, bounces over Tierney, and lands on the head of the shortest player. in the
Because
Ray,
locker.
what
you're
were you?
tall
What were you
center back
drinking while
He's
is
you're?
talking about
kneeling,
it.
praying
Yes.
I
about what
want to know
happened
what
Yes.
Ray was
yesterday.
drinking
That
when
is
he was
why
watching
if
that
he
match
stands up,
yesterday.
the ball never makes it.
Yep. It was
Just
completely
stand up.
avoidable. It went over Tierney's head. Tierney couldn't get to it.
No, you
Ray,
don't blame Tierney. Don't even bring his name into this picture. It's not his.
It's
Carrier
Kyrgios.
is
And
a
his
center
name
back.
out
He
of your
needs to
mouth.
clear the ball. He needs to get up and clear
Ray,
the
were you
ball.
watching a game
Bringing
at
up,
amusement
you bring up.
park in
Why are you
House
bringing up
of Mirrors?
Tierney anyways? Come on, stop it.
And I would say Tierney was probably
No,
my
he
man in the
isn't.
match. Funnily enough, Tierney was probably
no.
my man in the match, and Noe's here. Thanks for joining us, Noe. I will say I would like Arteta to do more rotation, but also adjust formational tactics when it isn't happening. We talked about this season, specifically Tony and I mentioned it to be
I said this
pragmatic.
earlier, and you guys said we can't do that because we can't just change everything. No, we
But
have
Gary,
to.
you speak like a fan all the time, so I'm speaking like a fan now. This is what I wish to see. You speak for what you wish to see, not what you actually see. Is that correct, Gary? The things you want is what you say.
What did he just say, Stan? Maybe you could translate.
I don't know. It's
I
like,
understood
it's like that Donald Rumsfeld. There are certain
There-
unknowns and
no.
unknowns that we know
There
about.
are
and
times.
unknowns.
There are times when I try to explain what Arteta's doing, what his mindset is, and Gary comes at me because this is what Gary wants to see. Is that fair, Gary? You're like, no. We are better than this. We are Arsenal. We should be winning, right?
I don't say we are Arsenal. I say we have good players on our team that are not performing.
We're better.
That's
The
yeah.
thing is, Brighton are a good team, well drilled. They play well, and they have good ball players, and they can hold on to the ball just as well as we
Like
can.
'em.
And
like
they had better. They had better possession than us. Probably all of the main stats in that game they beat us on, and they took
You know what? And some of
advantage
that is
our
effort.
mistakes.
Some of that is effort. None of that has anything to do with like talent. Some of it's like doing it 100%. They weren't so much more talented than us, and that's why they looked the way they did. No, they actually were trying
We're as
to
good as
actually
them.
do something.
Yeah.
So that's mentality there. That's not talent.
No, it's not taking your chances. That's what it is. It's not taking your chances. I watched Ireland.
Ray, we only had 10 shots, 2 on target.
Okay, Tony. In 1988, the European Championships, England played Ireland. England had 20 chances to score. Ireland had 1. Ireland won 1-0. It
Here we go.
happens. It happens.
Ray's
in
opening
games.
up the books, man.
The boys in green did it, Stan. The
Right.
boys in
Opening up the
green.
book.
Ray, did watching the game, did it look like we gave it our all?
I feel like there was certain lacking something in our step, and it
To
could have
me, it
been.
looked exactly like
You
the
just said
Newcastle
yes
last
to his
season.
question.
We were
You
shit
just
in
said
that game.
yes to his question. He asked you a question. You just said yes
We
in a
had the
long,
chances.
drawn-out way.
We
Sorry.
had the chances. We
shit
had the
that.
chance. We just didn't take the chances. You know.
As my old sales manager used to say to me, he said to me, if you're that close, your mouths will be that close. You know what I mean?
We didn't get
When you're on
anything.
commission only.
The closest we got to the goal was hitting the crossbar,
Not good enough.
and that's
What is
it.
it? Is it a crossbar challenge? It's not good enough.
Yeah. They got the goal, and then they profited from pressing us with Trossard trying to do something in the final minutes of the game. We pushed for a little bit before that with Reece
Horrible.
Nelson, but they profited off of our mistake. And Ramsdale,
That's horrible.
earlier in the season, Ramsdale was trying to be a good teammate to players. He let Trossard know he was not happy with what
Horrid.
Trossard
Listen
did.
to what you said there. Last minutes, Ray.
Horrible.
Where was that at the first 30 minutes?
The first 30 minutes, we had chances to score the first goal. You don't score the first goal,
Ray,
I
we didn't
believe.
look good. We
That's
did not
true.
look like a team
We
that
didn't look
wanted to
good.
win it.
I think Brighton, we didn't look good against Brighton when we beat them at their place for the
Horrible
last
vision.
30
That was.
minutes.
You know, they say when a goalkeeper makes a good save, he's like a salmon jumping out of the water. Ramsdale looked more like a trout. It was just, I felt sorry for him. It wasn't his fault.
No.
Do you know what I mean? He was trying to, nightmare.
Again,
He looked like one of a Did he look like one of the
But
trots that get picked up
Again,
by
this
the bear?
may be something Ramsdale can learn from, because he played centrally. He played the ball centrally like the Southampton game, and he gave it to Trossard. Trossard should have taken care of the ball better, but he had fullbacks that he could have played the ball to as well, Ramsdale, in those final minutes, And, they profit off our mistake is 2-0. The game's over, and then they get a third goal
high risk, high reward.
right at the
Playing it
end.
out from the back, innit?
Mm-hmm. It's Gary. I'm looking at you. I feel the pain. You're thinking about it now. I feel the pain. It's on your face right now. And there are times in this league where you can be the better team, but you don't win games because you're the better team. You don't win games because you have the better players on the field, technically speaking. I believe the effort was there for Arsenal to get that goal. They just didn't get it.
I
I don't think
it's
it
what
was
you said
there.
earlier when Tony asked you, did we look like a team? And you dilly dallied around the question and you
I-
weren't affirmative with it, because guess what? The team did not look like they were going to score in that game.
I
And I
don't
understand
know.
we came close and stuff like that, but like you can tell if there's like an energy, the way the team's playing and stuff like that. They did not look like that.
I
Right? They
will
didn't look,
say
it
one
looked like they
thing.
were just going through the motions, like they were just out there getting that sweat in.
I will
you know.
ask you one final question, Gary. Maybe not one final, because we're going to be talking a little bit longer here tonight. One question for you, Gary. Were you disappointed that Everton could not get something out of City?
I don't care. I really don't care. Like the whole point was, if we don't do our job, who cares what other teams do? And you know what?
Well,
This everything that City run, chased us down, all of that. That's because we didn't do our
Money!
job against
No,
the teams that we had. So you know what? We, as I said before, we didn't need to beat City this year to win the league. We didn't. We had many
Yeah.
opportunities to get points elsewhere.
I
Hello
know.
there.
Put us into a situation, right? I mean,
I
think about
think
it. If we won those 3 games, we're
He's
sitting
nuts.
6 points, and those are the 2 games in hand. Yes, we might lose on goal difference, but we actually played the way we're supposed to. We didn't drop points where we did. So I kind of
like
feel
I
like
said earlier, when you come second, you can have the thoughts of where did we lose the points, I think we're a very good team. We're just not perfect.
about this. You remember when we played City?
I'm not perfect.
Remember when we played City and Arteta didn't go to that game, and Albert played, and for
Yeah.
45 minutes we had Pep pulling his hair out. Right? He didn't have any hair, but he was pulling it out. You remember that game? That first 45 minutes, right? That first 45 minutes, we were like, if that's Arteta ball, I want more of that. I ain't seen it since. Haven't seen it since. We've gotten better. Not against City. We have not seen it
Not
again.
against City, but you've seen it against
But
all
we
the
have
other
a
teams.
blueprint, right? We have a blueprint, and we know how we can play against them. We've gotten better. The players that are in that game, we've either brought in better players, or the players that are in that game have gotten better. We've look at the results. None of them even look even
Don't make
close.
excuses for Tomiyasu then when he makes a mistake.
I didn't make
You
excuses.
did.
I said he needed to play more, and when he played against City, that's what it looks like when a player doesn't get to play much.
Well,
That's part
he
of their
should
whole
never.
rotation discussion.
A professional player, whether he
Yeah.
can,
Needs
whether he's
minutes.
playing or not,
No,
a professional
They have
player
to
can
play,
kick the
Greg.
ball back.
that is not true. That's not true.
It is.
Not in this team. It's not. We don't have to. Tomiyasu is not a player that's going to sit on a bench like a Mahrez and come in and do work. He isn't that player.
A
He isn't.
professional footballer cannot mispass a ball to his goalkeeper and give
You have
Kevin
to
De Bruyne
play,
an open
right?
goal like that.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling. We saw that from our starting right back. Remember, Gabriel center back. Gabriel did the same thing against Wolves.
Against
Right.
Wolves, yeah.
So it's in the squad. Those little mistakes are in the squad, right? Because we've seen it before.
Yeah.
So what I am saying is that certain players need to play, or else they're like elephant graveyard. They just start to die inside, and they don't look the same.
Yeah.
right? And that's why you have to rotate your players. And if we keep talking about, City with their like 16, 15, 16 players, they rotate them all the time, right? You know what? It keeps them fresh, engaged,
And we
and playing at their top level, right?
we are
I think in that game, if I recall, he hadn't played for like a month. It's been like a
Yeah.
month since he last played. Now all of a sudden he's going to come into City and play. Nah, are you kidding me? Are you serious? So a player who hadn't played in a month is going to come in and play against City because he's a professional and be at the top of his game. Nah, it's
a
not gonna
professional footballer should be able to pass the ball
happen. No
back to the
player,
keeper.
no player sits for a
Sorry.
month, comes in
If-
against
no.
City.
He's
This
training,
year.
Gary.
No, you're living in
No.
a dreamland where it's the Rainbow Man.
I could do it.
Mr.
No,
Rainbow. Man.
exactly. You can do it in your dreams. I get it. No player can
Uh,
sit out for a month, come into a
Spencer.
City match, and play the way you expect them to. Not
Spencer.
gonna happen.
Spencer
Not gonna
says
happen.
most challenge or echo chambers love the discussion.
So what you're
Listen,
saying, right, Gary? There's never been a situation where there's been a team, and then a key player goes out and they bring someone in and they come in and you're like, wow, Ashley Cole. They come in and they make a name for themselves. You got to be ready to go, man. This is what I hated about Eddie Nketiah when he used to say, like, I need to start
it's
games.
all games.
I
yeah.
need to start. I need to. No. You take the chance when you get them and you're ready to go. That's
Yeah.
how that should be
Dude,
the mentality.
that's all.
Whether you
That's
can-
all. I've been
whether
saying
you
that.
can do that or
long-
not.
I said it all
whether
last year, though.
Eddie can do it or
It's
not.
old stuff.
That should be the attitude and that should be the narrative. Not like, well, I need this and I need that. The porridge can't be too hot and the porridge can't be too cold. It's got to be just right. You know what I'm saying? We don't want no Goldilocks players. If the opportunity
Spencer.
comes, you take it. Gary,
I'm
when was
with
the last
you.
time
I'm
you
with-
played
I'm
90
Stan,
minutes of
Stan,
football?
I'm with you on that.
Guarantee you, if Arsenal called you tomorrow, you'd be like, well, no, I haven't played. Like,
We had a chance
I
against
hear
City
you,
in
Stan,
that
but
game.
you know what? I hear
I'd be
you,
there
Stan.
tomorrow. Okay, I'd
No,
be subbed
but
after
you're-
5 minutes.
I
but
hear
I'd
what
be
you're
there.
saying, Stan, but guess what? Guess what? But guess what? Am I going to be what the level that you expect me to be at if I haven't been playing for a month? You can't expect that because it doesn't happen.
But you're in training.
That's why
You're in
you
top
no.
peak
We
condition.
just
It's like
we
a
just
race
talked
course.
about this.
You
have
should
to
be primed and ready to go.
No player
Say
sits
what you're
out.
saying that if a soldier doesn't go to war, they're no good, even though they're in training all the year round. They're waiting for the opportunity.
You ever
You're
see?
ready.
You ever see what happens
That's
to
what
what
they're paid. You're
happens to that
trained.
soldier
I
when
don't think he was in
when the
contact
bullets start
training.
flying over their head and they freeze? Guess what?
He
You've
was
never seen that
practicing.
before.
Whatever-
He wasn't training. when
Whatever
they
you
broke
say about Mohamed El Neni, he said he knows he's not going to play, but he's ready when that opportunity comes. He's ready to play, and he doesn't.
That's what
you-
the narrative.
I don't
that's the
care
narrative.
if people say he's going to pass the ball laterally or square. He doesn't pay that forward pass. But El Neni doesn't make very many mistakes, and I know he's not a defender. Tomiyasu, he's competing against White, and you need to take an opportunity against City and play flawless football, and you can't make a mistake.
He's
we
been
gave
hurt
City,
since the Olympics, Ray.
we gave City a goal start, Tony. You know,
He
Um,
has been hurt since the Olympics.
listen, Spencer's
wasn't-
here. Spencer
wasn't
said
playing
most
in the cup.
channels. Sorry, Tony. Most channels or echo chambers love the discussion, and
thank you.
I
You
know that.
already said that,
Cheers,
right?
Spencer.
Yeah, I know, but I want to say this is Arsenal fan circle where we don't always agree with each other. We have a healthy discussion.
Sometimes known as
And-
Liverpool fan circle, but that's a
Sometimes Liverpool
another
fan
story.
circle.
That is
It's another story. Keep
another podcast.
watching. Keep watching. You'll find out more
Whole
about
nother
it.
podcast.
So I wanted to sort of bring it around now. Any other points on Brighton, Gary? I know it's
As the
upsetting.
title of my show was, that sucked. It did.
Yeah.
That sucked. And
Lack-
it
Guess
lack-
what, Gary? Guess what?
Lackluster.
When you lose, it sucks, right?
I know. I can take certain losses, but the way we played it, that's just.
The performance.
Yeah, I know. What did I say? I say this all the time, and maybe I haven't said it lately, but I'll take performance over a result any day
Yeah.
because I can
Yeah.
build on a performance. I can't build on luck and getting lucky. You know what I mean? But if I know my team's out there performing, 9 times out of 10, if I continue to perform that way, I'm going to get the win results that I want. But that's kind of why I always want.
Have we-
performance out of,
Have we been lucky to get second?
Yes.
No.
No, I think we've been playing. I think our performances have been really good this year.
We're
So-
second. We're second on merit, I believe.
We earned it.
Tony. Tony.
No, I don't think we've been lucky getting second this year.
We
You
earned
think
it.
we've been lucky?
I think I heard Tony said yes.
Yeah, but look at the teams behind us.
No. I'm asking you a question. You think we were lucky?
Ray asked me a question.
Ray,
And that's
ask me my
different.
question so
It's
that maybe our
different.
answer.
Tony, Gary wants to know, do you think we've been lucky?
Yes.
It's like telling it's like a UN thing, isn't it? We got the messages have to go through someone.
Yeah, the Irish guy is to speak for the
Commissar.
American guy to the Midwestern guy.
Back
You know, 'cause
channel.
I'm on the East Coast.
Back channels,
I'm
yeah.
not Midwest. God damn it, Gary.
Sorry, what are you?
South Central.
South Central. Nobody says South Central USA.
All
Which
Yes,
one
right.
it
is it?
does. Look on the
Um,
government site. It's South.
I don't read that map. Sorry.
How many states is above me? 4. How many is below me? Alonzo State. Then it's Mexico.
No, it's not.
Um,
It's Texas.
The
Get it right, Tony.
conversation. The
Look
conversation.
at the
saying
map,
I'm-
Tony. Look at the map. It says Texas, not Mexico. Get it right, Tony.
No, under Texas is Mexico.
You just said
Right?
you just said underneath you is Mexico.
I said there's only one state underneath us, Texas.
Okay.
There's your
Then
geography.
there's Mexico.
Well,
Anyway, so
12 of you watching, thank you for being here. Slap
Yeah.
the like if you like the discussion. And it's been a lively discussion tonight. Alonzo, what have you got?
Hello.
Hello. Spencer,
Well, okay.
he's a baller.
That performance sucks.
I trust your judgment.
Yeah,
The
I know
performance
hard.
sucked.
Okay.
So,
Ray, tell Alonzo what you seen in that game. See if Alonzo agrees.
yes, I was about to do that.
Read.
Alonzo, I watched the game. I thought we played pretty well, really well in the first half. We had chances that we didn't hit the target with.
What kind
and
of
we
rewatching, Ray?
We just didn't score, Alonzo. We just didn't score.
Did you have it
Right.
on last year's
We,
game,
we,
Ray?
we were on target twice, and Odegaard had a good shot on goal, right? But he missed it. As did, I believe, Saka missed a goal, and then there we go, Jesus. That was it. We had no heart in that game. Even when we were down 1-0, we had no heart because they knew they could punish us. Right, Gary?
Yep.
I
You just
that's what I was
summarized what
I was trying to tell him that he's looking at all the stats and stuff, and I'm like, how about
Me,
the team the way they play, and that's not the Arsenal team that we've enjoyed this season. Coming down the stretch of this game, you have to you got to take the energy from the crowd. I believe
Which
the
is
crowd
flat.
brought them something, right? And they came out flat, not ready to play. And
crowd was flat.
And Gary, you know,
I got
Was
two
the crowd
questions
flat,
for you, Ray.
Gary?
well, Gary. So, and the rest of the panel, I guess. So, Sato, say what you want about him, he played magnificently.
Mm.
He was up and down the pitch every time you got possession. We're having tournament fields. Where's Jorginho at? You know, that dude is why we need a midfielder like Shiseido. You know, and he
And, you know,
works hard. He has a great work rate.
And that's the second time that we played it. Second time, but this is when we played Everton. Similar thing. Their midfield dominated us. And what happened in the Brighton game? Similar thing. Their midfield was what we were talking about for parts of that game. As you said, Casado was basically just
This is
doing his thing there.
this comment here is very true. The tortoise versus the hare.
But you know what? I don't believe. I think we are naive and immature. I don't think we are like the hare in that fable. I don't think we were big
Did
headed.
we run out of steam, Gary?
And so confident in our skills that we forgot where we are. I believe we were naive in the way that we were managed, right? And that's a lot to do with it. And I think that for me, that's why I think it's more on Arteta than the players, because I felt like he had some answers he never went that were out. He had some answers where he could have done some things a little bit different with the squad, the way they were playing. He didn't do that either. He just kind of stuck to his guns. being a little naive and
We
being
also saw mistakes, high-profile mistakes in our team in those games. You know, I'm thinking Ramsdale against Southampton. I know there was other mistakes as well in this thing. Tony,
Wrong folk tale. You know which one you seen?
what are you, Tom, in disguise?
just tell us what
No.
it is, dog.
The
Go on, tell
frog
us.
and the frog and the scorpion. Frog and the scorpion.
Oh, the frog and the scorpion. It's his nature. It's the nature of the scorpion to sting the frog when he's swimming across the river.
Also, 2 more questions, right?
Um,
Did we look like a team fighting to win the title? On your rewatch, drinking too much Irish coffee yesterday?
I think I think what happened was the realization, the stark realization that we weren't gonna take it to the last weekend or the
That's
second
a
last
terrible
weekend.
mentality to have. That's
That's what
weak-minded.
happened.
That's weak-minded. If that's going to be the case, then you never thought you were going to win.
It's
that.
not a mentality. It's
It
an
is if you
assessment.
think because it still wasn't lost at that point. You still went out and you forced them to have to do their job. But we don't. But because they won, we can't play football anymore. We needed
didn't
to finish
score.
up. We needed to finish off this season
Gary,
strong.
if you don't score a goal, you can't win a game.
It's very
Football
true.
is a very,
You know what?
at the
You've
end
got
of the
to
day, it's
force.
a very simple
You
game.
have,
Put
but
the ball in the net.
that doesn't make. But you have to put yourself in a better situation to score though, and look like you're going to score. Did you ever feel like you've watched games where you're like, well, you know what? In less than 5 minutes, this team's going to score because of the amount of pressure that they're putting into this team's defense. We say that all the damn time. No time in that game did I ever go, well, you know what? The goal's coming for Arsenal.
No, I agree with
And
that.
that's a lot of effort, a lot of heart.
Yay, you two finally agreed.
I agree with that. They play Caicedo. They play Dunk, Caldwell, who's probably a pretty good player for Chelsea, a Chelsea player, right? And they played a Stupinan at the back as well. That's pretty good back four right there. But at the end of the day, we didn't score. We've established that you need to score goals to win games, and we didn't hit the net. We didn't even hit the target. We hit the crossbar. That's as close as we got. At the end of the day, we're going out with a whimper now, and we got 2 games, which they will say it's no pressure FC. Arsenal will beat Nottingham Forest, and will beat Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we'll probably score 8 goals.
If we play like it's nothing, and then we'll get beat. That's the way we came and played against Brighton. We need to come out there and play like we got something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Somebody needs to like the same way the coach came out and said, "What we just saw, we're not going to see it again." Did Arteta say that this time? Because he should have. Because guess what? That's not the way he coached them. Based on what we hear a lot from Arteta, a lot of things that we see on the pitch isn't because that's the way he coaches his squad. He's disappointed in the way they perform because they're not implementing the things that he says. So in the next 2 games, they need to come out and get the results.
Yep, definitely. We got to get through a couple other things, Gary, and let's get to the contracts next. And which one, Stan? You're kind of pushing to talk about the contracts. So which one do you want to go with first?
You choose.
Well, is Granit Xhaka a contract? Is Granit Xhaka a talking point?
Hold on. So hang on. You want
Bye.
Let me understand it. You want me to talk about Granit Xhaka?
No, you said you choose. That's what you said.
So if we're going to talk about Granit Xhaka potentially leaving Arsenal, just give me one moment. Let me get ready.
Bye. Yeah.
What am I missing?
He's got his party hat on, and he's got his lei on. He's enjoying life right now.
Okay, let me put it this way: would any of you entertain Granit Xhaka playing
No.
a
He's
more
listening.
limited role in next season
This is
on the
how I
bench.
feel about it.
No,
You know what? If he was a team player, yes. Many people are saying he's not that type of player who's going to
Do you know what's happened, Ray?
give his 100% off the bench. That's why he's gonna go. And a lot of people say that's why he hasn't ever. You've never seen him in that situation
Do you
where
know
he
what's
comes off the
happened,
bench
Ray?
and supports his team like a team player does.
Yeah. Tony, what's gonna happen?
You know, kind of like as a kid, you have a toy chest. You have your favorite toy. If Zaka's in there, he's a fucking start.
Okay. Yeah. So
No argument from Ray on that one.
let's answer this question really quickly from Spencer. Gary, any players from relegation
Yes.
teams? Let's say Leicester, Southampton, and we're not going to mention Leeds.
Madison, Barnes. I mean, definitely Madison. I mean, that'd be really good to bring him in. I know people are talking about Ward-Prowse, but I don't think so.
Probably going to go to West Ham.
There's that
as
midfield. I
Rice's
think it's a
replacement.
midfielder. Is a Paulina or Latia or something like that. I think
City player.
for Southampton. I think so. I think there are players like there are
Tielemans.
players. No,
Tony.
Tielemans is not high on that. Tielemans. If we're talking about getting Rice, Tielemans is like we'll get him at the end of the window if we need to fill some spots, right?
In every Premier League team, there's some players because Premier League teams have a lot of money. There's some players in every team, and yeah, we mentioned a few there. Getting back to Xhaka and Stan's having a party. Alonso's not partying. Granit Xhaka, he's frozen, is he?
I'm just so glad that we're finally upgrading.
Frozen.
You know, I don't understand why we have to have sentiments about players. If it's obvious that you can upgrade on a player to improve the team, I don't see that as a crime. You know, if Granit Xhaka wants to stay at Arsenal and fill in at the Mohamed El-Neni spot, and El-Neni moves in because you're bringing in like Rice and Caicedo, I've got no problem with that. But if you're talking that he's going to be the left 8 for multiple games next season, again, in the way that we've outgrown Emil Smith-Rowe, in the way that perhaps we've outgrown Kieran Tierney, surely we have outgrown Granit Xhaka. And the reason I say that, even though this has been his, he's notwithstanding his best season, you've seen that many times that the manager has been experimenting and he's been withdrawing him from games and playing teabag in there. It hasn't worked. I'm not saying it's worked, but you can see that he's already thinking about replacing that person who plays in that position. And I'm really happy that we are actually going to be upgrading because, as I've said, many months ago, years ago on this broadcast, I've said, until we move on, every single player that was here from the Wenger era, then the rebuild has never been completed in earnest. And that's another step closer.
Granit Xhaka has been that player that every coach at Arsenal has taken to.
He's re-signed.
Same for Holding and the same for eventually, as much as I love him, El-Neni. We've evolved.
Yeah. Maybe even Tierney. And I know you like Tierney. Alonso, got to get you in before you freeze. Granit Xhaka.
I thought about this morning, actually, before I went to work, on what I was going to say about Granit Xhaka. To me, it was.
Go ahead, Alonso.
It was a great story while it lasted. I think this year was important for us getting top 4, obviously, and he was a big part of us fighting for his title there to the end, I guess. It's too bad that when we signed him, he was supposed to get us to the next level as far as becoming championship contenders and getting that trophy that we needed to win the league the next year. Him with Mustafi were, and he turned his career around last year and this year, and became kind of a folk hero, I guess. And at a time that Arsenal needed someone to step up, he stepped up in kind of a way that he was Odegaard's vice captain. He scored goals and became a playmaker of sorts. So I respect the fact that he turned his career around. I respect that he didn't give up on himself. I respect the fact that fans came to like him again, or came to respect and like him. And it's a good story. It really is. And I wish him the best at Brian Leverkusen. And fair play to him. You know, he didn't give up on himself. He didn't give up on the fans either. And you know, Arteta didn't give up on him either. So you know, it was quite amazing turnaround.
Yeah, listen, we don't know if Granit Xhaka is gonna go, but he's definitely turned the narrative. We're not going to forget the beginning of the story, but we shouldn't forget the end of the story either. And especially a player with those instincts of gaining red cards, he didn't get anything this season. In fact, no Arsenal player has been sent off this season.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get when you're the most scored player on the team, right?
With 2 to go. Tony, what?
2 games, not.
It's kind of hard to get when you're the most scored player.
Yeah, listen, it's true. The further up the field, the less likely you're going to pick up 2 yellows or even a red. But he has kept himself. He has transformed his game. Arteta, I think, warned him he would be replaced if he couldn't do that left 8 this season. Gary looks like he's ready to jump in.
You don't remember Arteta chasing him down to keep him from getting a red card?
We're going to have a podcast about things that like that, you know, crazy moments.
The fastest Arteta ever moved.
That was the fastest Arteta ever went through a midfield.
I wish he could do that when he was playing with.
Yeah, when Arteta feared the worst for Granit Xhaka and ran after him.
75-yard dash.
But he has gone a long way to. We're never going to forget what happened, right? In the bad times. And in some ways, it wasn't his fault because of Unai Emery and the way the team was performing. But all five of us think differently about Granit Xhaka here.
How many games did they win under Emery in a row?
You keep on asking.
Undefeated?
You need a Pavarotti book. Where you
27, right? 27 games we didn't lose.
For what?
Yeah, but the reasons why we didn't lose is the reason why after that we struggled. Because you could see in every game we were lucky that the other team couldn't score to save their life. I mean, we had like breakaways, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and poor decisions being made. If you remember that stretch of games, and it's like, we are lucky we're playing this crap team today.
I think
we'd be losing because we were really poor in the midfield, giving up the ball, and we were just lucky to, like you said, not to lose any games in that stretch. But then eventually teams basically just sat back and just waited for us to make mistakes, and then we looked really poor. So I kind of felt like, it was you needed to not take it for granted that you were going to get you weren't going to lose, and we didn't do that, and eventually it caught up to us in that stretch there. No, I think Arteta did a good job, getting him away from his putting him in a position to succeed, right? Which meant I don't want you playing defense. So why can't he do that for some of the other players? He doesn't. He'll tell Tierney, you need to play just like Zinchenko. Nah. But Xhaka, you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to move you further up the pitch where you can do less damage on the defensive end. Yep. Right?
Arteta needs to do some work on himself as well.
This is where I say he needs to manage the players the way that they play, because if they can't do exactly what he wants, then he needs to adjust. The same way if somebody gets injured, you don't go, all right, well, you know what? Jesus is out, Nketiah comes in, but I want Nketiah to do exactly what Jesus does. He didn't do that. He didn't ask Nketiah to do the exact same thing Jesus does, right? And
he might have.
Was able to. He did not.
We don't know.
He did not, because you saw the way that Nketiah played. It wasn't like, he's trying to do the same things as Jesus. That's not what we saw.
Tierney's trying to do the same things as Zinchenko.
Exactly, and that's a problem. right? So he does do it sometimes, and other times you're like, what? Why are you not? Why it doesn't work?
Yeah.
So it,
He,
it, it was never
he
going to work.
definitely didn't
Two
put
different-
he didn't put Eddie in the middle of a pitch like Jesus was.
He didn't ask him to come back and support the
of the season.
midfield, come back and support the back
Um,
line. He didn't ask him to
Arsenio
do those
said
things.
every player has his time to move on. Xhaka is not the exception to that rule. We need to refresh the squad and bring in top quality, top-notch quality to challenge for honors. And I think I remember Granit Xhaka saying to Emile Smith-Rowe, "You're the future." And I think that's where we leave it with Granit Xhaka. And I think his wife wants to go and live back in Germany. So
Do you know that, Ray?
I don't know
Ray's
that.
got Ray's got inside info.
Agent Ray.
Rumor, Alonso. That's the rumor. But yeah,
Ray knows a bloke who's a furniture mover who's been booked for Granit Xhaka.
it was the same guy who told me Tielemans put his house up for sale. That didn't work out, did it? Same guy who told me Granit Xhaka had his bags packed and we were going to get 40 million. I wonder who told me that.
That was true, though. That was true, though.
Let's move to the next contract. Saliba or Saka? Who wants to talk about Saka or Saliba?
I
Take
want
a
to
vote.
talk about Saka.
Take a vote on Saka. We'll talk about Saka then. Go, Tony.
We have to remember when this started. October 2021. He's offered quadruple his salary, 160,000. There we are, almost 2 years later. Now he wants a king's ransom.
You think he's
and
actually?
you, Ray, and you want the Liverpool example?
Mm-hmm.
You know what you do? You sell him for 120 million.
Yeah. So the tricky thing with Bukayo Saka is you really don't want. Maybe you do or don't want a big club to come in and take him. You know. Now
I just
we're.
don't have faith in us.
Well,
buying the
also
right
on the
players.
flip side, we're putting a very young player on a high salary. And what if he's with us for 5 years? What is his salary going to be 2 years from now?
This is in some respects no different than what you were doing with Nketiah in terms of giving him a salary that might be a little too much, right?
Sure.
Because he's at that level, right? If you're going to pay him, what is it, like 250, 300K a week?
Mhm.
He can't have those dips in form that we've been seeing, right?
He's a human being as well.
Not if he. I'm not paying you top money to play like my bench player. I'm very sorry. That's not how this thing works, right? If you're in a sales game and I pay you the top salesman and you don't bring it home, we've got problems. So that's why you know. Do you want to? That's why we keep talking about not necessarily culling the players, but not putting too much on the players, the young players, shoulders, right? Because we don't want them to lose their way too early in their career. 300K a week will do that, right? Sancho's making whatever 250. That's a lot of money on his shoulders, right? And he has to perform when he gets out there. Can't take, players that make that much money are expected to do certain things consistently. That's why they get paid the big money, right? Right. So I think that's going to be can he handle the weight of the pressure? He's shown he can. I don't think they're utilizing him in the right way.
What do you think of when you think of Saka? What do you think of him this season? My overriding thoughts of Saka is coming back inside into midfield and getting whacked by fullback, and yes, he's scored goals and had assists, but I don't remember that as often as him getting chopped down by fullbacks, and that's not really related to what we're talking about right now, but it is a lot of money for a young player.
He had a mixed season. He didn't start off well. That's when he was dropping back and covering White. After that, Arteta had him believed in White, so Saka stopped dropping back there.
Once again, as struggling as he was, he's leading the team in goals and goal creation. All right.
Yeah, but
So what? So like that's where the potential is still there for him to do great because he didn't play well and he still got 24 goals and assists, which is in the top 10, I believe, in the league. So
Mhm.
there is
Gary,
potential there. So if you're paying for the potential, then it's there. We see it. You know, he just needs to do better, right?
Gary, how do you feel if you played 3,500 minutes, making 40K a week? Then you have Eddie and Kedia making 100K. Now you didn't see the last half of the season.
It's not, you can't really compare the two players, though, right?
No, but that's what he's saying is if I'm making more money than you, but you're doing a lot more of the work, how do you feel when you go into the negotiation table? Are you gonna
How would
go?
that make you
Are
feel,
you gonna go?
Ray?
You know what? I'll take the 100 just like the other guy who's not doing half the work that I do. You know, no, you're not.
I'm not.
You should get paid
I'm
what you're
not
worth.
understanding.
If the team thinks Nketiah is worth
If
100,
you're
then they should comparatively play Saka what he's worth, right?
if you're
Which means
Saka
a
and
lot
you're
of
making
money.
40K,
Okay, so you're
and Eddie's
saying,
making 100.
all right, you're saying, Tony, Eddie's on 100 grand a week, but Saka's doing 4 times the work that Eddie's
But
doing.
I'm saying he's making 40K. That's what his wages are.
Who is
40,000. Saka
400 or 40?
40.
When he was a winger, when he started,
It's still 40,000, right?
he's making 40,000 now.
Yes.
Bukayo Saka's making 40,000 a week now. No,
Yes.
He was
no,
making like 16 or whatever it was when he first got that contract
you
extension.
can't be
It
on
was
40 bags a
3,000.
week right now.
It went from 3,000 to 40,000.
Yeah,
No.
it was a big percentage, but it wasn't like he was one of the in the mid range.
In October 21, we were to quadruple it to 160.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
never got done. And he never got a raise. He's
How
on
do
40,000.
you know that, Tony? How do you know that, Tony?
Oh.
Is that
I seem to remember Stan saying, why would he do this coming up to a World Cup? Why would Bukayo Saka do this going into a World Cup where he could increase his worth after a good World Cup, right? So here we are, post-World Cup. Bukayo Saka's had a good World Cup. He scored 3 goals in the World Cup, played well
Worth
for Arsenal.
120 million.
And here we are again, another agent demanding.
Wait,
An agent is there.
Ray, I have a
And
question.
gets blue M&Ms because he has a good agent.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question for Tony. Tony, how do you know that Arsenal are going to quadruple Bukayo Saka's contract?
The same reason you know everything. Because
Newspapers.
those people leak it out. The Orange
Wait,
teams and all
wait,
those guys. It leaks
are
out.
you-
They know.
Are you his agent, right? I mean, Tony, are you his agent?
I mean, we all know that Gabriel Jesus makes over 250,
Mhm.
right? We know that. So the same way we know that, the same way we would know Saka's salary.
You can
I mean,
look it up on the internet and see
information's out there.
everybody's
I
salary.
mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a site right now called, was it Capology, and they supposedly have all the salaries of the players, right? And it actually says Saka is around 70 right now.
Okay.
Right?
So,
So
but here we are negotiating. Some people say it's already done. 300 bags, 300 grand a week, right? Arsenio said, Spencer, I'd give him at least 200 plus add-ons to make him not get complacent.
That's my deal. I don't mind paying a player
That's Arsenio said it.
300,000.
It's not yours,
I
Arsenio
don't
said
mind
it.
it, but I'm not giving him straight 300,000. Give him 180, then 120 worth of bonuses.
Incentive laden for certain.
I would do that with
Stan, you're very
everybody.
quiet.
I want to pay.
Just, you know,
Unless you're
wait
Holland, I'm not
my
paying
turn.
anybody over.
Just wait
Okay,
my
this
turn.
can go one of two ways. You either sell the player for 120 million and you reinvest the money, or you pay him what he's worth, right?
So what I understand it is, not that I've had any contact with anybody, just but I'm reading that the contract for Saka is done. It's £290,000 a week. Now, I don't know how that's made up. I don't know whether that's a base salary of 200, and then you've got 90 and add-ons. You know, they don't break it down. And I look at this. I look at it this way. There's one part of me that's kind of like, every time we've like got a player to a salary that's around that 300 grand threshold, and they've played their way to get that, after the contract is signed, we've never seemed to be able to reap the rewards.
Mhm.
I like to say,
I'm not saying that's going to happen with Saka. I'm just saying experience and what I've seen, and I think
but this,
but
hold
hold on. But I also think that whether you think 290 grand a week is too much or too little or whatever, if we don't pay it, somebody else will. That's the thing.
Who? Well, who's going to pay that?
Someone else out there will. I guarantee you. Somebody will. If we don't give, Saka, the going rate, there's other teams out there that will take him. So it's a gamble that we've had to take. But then you have to look at it another way. Erling Haaland's only about a year and a half older than Saka, and look how many bags a week he takes. It's 580 odd or whatever it might be. It's over 500,000 and this, that, and the other. So I think that this is maybe around about the going rate for somebody like Saka and the reputation and standing that he has in the game.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, as you say, Stan, historically, a player gets paid pretty well to that amount. You don't see a lot on the other side of the contract backing it up. Salah, I think even Mo Salah, the Liverpool connection, here we go. Mo Salah had a little bit of a dip afterwards, but he started to score again. I think you have to trust what's in the heart of the player if he has that desire in him. And
you also like when Stan was talking there about the other times we spent a lot of money. Those players were at the end of their careers, right? I mean,
yeah.
they had already hit the. No. I mean,
Aubameyang.
Ozil and Aubameyang were the last two, right? He is not even at his prime yet, right? Like for me, it's still a lot of money, right? But he's not even at his prime yet. So we're only expecting it to get better with the way he's playing, right? And he's shown that consistently for the last 3 years. His numbers have improved and all of that, right? So what he does for the England team has improved in terms of the value that they put on him, right? So we're expecting that again for the next 5 years, right? 5 years from now, he'll be 26, 27 or something like that. 26, I guess it is.
21, 22 now. So yeah, it'll be 26,
26, 27, right? So we expect him to be. That money will be nothing by then. Hopefully, he's improving the way he's trending right now. Expect him to get better. Players around him to get better. Whether we bring them in or whether they just get better themselves. So it sounds like as you said, that's the number. Either you're selling him for a large amount, or you still got to go buy a player of that quality again. So is it even worth it? Is it worth it to take a player that works for your system, pay him, or sell him, and then go out and buy another player for similar price and still have to pay them close to that money anyways? What's the point?
And we all know that our transfer dealings are probably midfield, defense, maybe a forward this summer. Maybe doesn't include a right.
That's everywhere in the team then.
Doesn't. Huh?
So that's basically everywhere in the team.
Everywhere in the team, exactly.
Midfield and the striker.
That's the other argument is you would know, as you would know, have spend that salaries plus a transfer fee to replace him. Yeah, exactly. Just what Gary was saying there. It's a tricky one, I don't want to say this, but I think we're going to have to probably deal with maybe not Saka, but a long-term injury next season.
Can I just say as well quickly, talking about
season-ending injury early.
Talking about
we just had one, so we were able to power through. Jesus
Who?
was out for how long? He was out for
Saliba?
like 6 months.
Jesus.
Jesus was out
Yeah.
for like 6 months. So we
3
Arteta
months.
already knows how to deal with that. What is that? What is he? How does he deal with that? He makes sure that he has somebody sitting behind him that is of quality and
Yeah.
trust and confidence in him that he can get we can get whatever he needs to get out of him. That's the answer. It
Yeah.
isn't, well, I hope that we don't get in. No, you just make sure you have backups.
That's
You
why
have
I want to get
quality.
a forward. I want to get a striker and maybe another forward as well to compensate for that.
But even looking at Declan Rice, right? You know what you're hearing, irrespective of the transfer fee, 92 million or whatever it is, the salary there again, it's 300 grand. This seems to be around about the figure you pay for top-notch quality players. I suppose I suppose we have to get used to. This is where we operate now, right? This is where we operate.
What
This
happened
summer-
to
Go ahead, Tony.
what happened to the law that the Premier League was trying to pass so that agents don't have these crazy fees? Because that's a lot why these players are getting paid that.
The wall, like
No, right? They were to set up a deal,
Pink
a
Floyd,
law that
the
the
limit,
agents couldn't make a certain amount of money.
a
Berlin.
cap almost, right?
They're just talking about like 6 weeks ago.
I don't know. Do we have the stomach for another 20 minutes or so here to finish talking
I've got a
about?
stomach for a kebab. I know that much.
I've enjoyed the discussion as ever Thursday night. Always appreciate.
Before we can, if we are going to
part
go,
of
there is one quick thing I think
Yes.
quickly, if that's all right. One other subject, as we're talking about contracts, I'm a little bit concerned about the length it's taken for William Saliba to sign a contract, especially when you think, well, you're out now. It's not like, well, I'm focusing on this, this competition. He's out now. He's convalescing. You know, you have why is it taking so long for him to put pen to paper? Why does it take so long? If I'm playing at Arsenal and I'm happy there and everything's going, I'm happy there. Yeah, you talk about a new why does it have to take months and months?
Last
know,
week and early this week, it seemed like the
maybe-
deal was already done.
For some reason, Arsenal thinks we us fans they don't want to give us everything at once because we'll just gobble it all up.
We got to
It's gonna
wait.
feed it to us just a little bit at a
I
time.
would wait,
Here's a
though.
little bit at a time. No,
You
no,
know
I
what?
want all our business done.
Saka is fine. That's going to be drip. They're probably going to wait till the end of the
Yeah, but
season,
I
to
don't-
cushion the
yeah,
blow. Oh, Saka signed, but Saliba's not
Here we
signed.
go again.
Saliba's
No, but
not
it's like I
signed.
said, I don't need all that. I just sign the
Man.
players. Let's move on. Let them go on vacation. We'll see them when they come to America.
Why is he
That's what
dragging
I
his
want.
heels? What's his problem?
Gary.
What's
Question for
he
you,
thinking
Stan.
about? What's he thinking about? What is it? What is it?
It could be wait till the end of the season. The
Why? He's
agents
not playing.
calling.
He's-
I don't
he's
know
off
why.
now.
I
What
don't
is
know
it?
doesn't make
what.
sense.
Adu
me.
doesn't coach
Yeah.
the team. Isn't Adu the one that signs gets the numbers back
Garlic.
and forth between?
Garlic's involved too.
Is he coaching the team too?
No, it's
Why
negotiation.
can't we? It's negotiation. Like, what else is there to do?
We're talking
One of your
about
top
contracts.
players needs to get re-signed. Get it done.
Stan,
When was the last time you was in your job, right? And your boss said to you, I want to talk to you about a pay rise. And you were like, listen, it's not the time now. Let me come back to you. Let me come back to you in a few weeks or whatever, and we can talk about it. Where's the last time that you'd be like, yeah, I come into your office right now. What are we talking? I mean, what's the? I don't get it.
He calls me for a lot of other things, Stan, not for price negotiation,
Exactly.
contract
I got a
negotiation.
question for you, Stan. You have back injuries. You know how they hurt. Would you sign him before you knew the extent of what they do on his surgery?
But it's coming up to 12 months, right? And when you get to 12 months, people can start putting bids in, right? Pre-contract and all that. What's
Yeah,
the problem?
when does this
Doesn't
contract
as
up
a
at
young
the end of
man,
next season?
as a young man, don't you want us to secure your future?
I
What
thought
is
we
the
had it
issue?
for-
What is the issue? The
I
club's
thought he
not.
was on
It's not
long-term
like the club
stuff.
saying, "Listen, we like you, but we're not sure about that back injury. So let's wait till you get better, and then we'll talk." They want to sign him now. They want to tie him up now, and he seems to be dragging his heels, and I don't understand why.
Is he
not,
coming
is he
up
not
on
happy
1
in
year?
England? Is he not happy in a team that's challenging for the league? And what's the deal? Are they lowballing him on money? Doesn't seem like it. It seems like they're splashing the cash. So,
right? Yeah, I don't know. Do
you know what I'm getting at though?
Yeah.
If you're anyone in their job, if someone's talking to you about securing your future, do you want that hanging out? You want to, secure my future, and I can go and have a few beers now. Don't have to think about that. That's all done.
Probably
tied it up. What's the deal?
I would say right now, if you're looking at Saliba not in the Arsenal team, you're saying Arsenal really need Saliba. So the agent's saying, what does your team look like without my player in the team right now?
It seems like to me like the agents are a big problem in world football. They overvalue their players and they want the best for players, but I think it's just a little bit too much. I think some agents have gotten in players' heads and are asking for a bit of something, and I think they're holding out.
Regulating that.
And it's something else that they're trying to hold out for their clients.
But if you know you can't afford a player, then you sell them. Just the same way, like if you know a player doesn't have the right mentality for your squad, then you sell them. I mean, City didn't just get rid of João Cancelo because because it wasn't going to work, right? It wasn't going to work, and
that was the bust up,
and they let him go, right?
In training, there was a tiff.
Yeah, but he's not right for the squad.
Mentality.
Arteta does that as well. Players not right for the squad, and if you can't afford to pay them, you can't sit on it and go, well, maybe we'll negotiate and figure this thing out, and then they walk away, right? We've seen this too many times where a player comes with 12 months to go, they're in control. Why would you?
Well, players are in control.
No, but that's why you negotiate before they get to that point. That's why there's some of the stuff needed to be done before you get to because Arsenal can't afford to. Well, you know what? We'll make this work.
I thought he was on a longer contract. That we weren't at this critical
juncture.
Is there not an option? I know it's 12 months.
They signed me for 5 years.
Is there no option?
Yeah, I thought we had him for many years, Tony.
You might have one more. I've seen something that says the contract ends in 24, but like you said, there might be an extension on it until 25.
I don't know about the extension, but
all right. Aaron Ramsdale signs.
Can I just say that I don't like it when you hear players holding us over a barrel. So if you don't want to play for Arsenal, then jog on. As much as how good you are, do you know what I mean? What's his problem? What is this guy's problem? He's gone out on loan, and a lot of people were vexed about that. He's come back a great player. He's come straight into the team at the beginning of this season. He's been made to feel welcome. He's at a club with great facilities in the capital of the United Kingdom in London. We want to talk to him about extending. What's your problem? If you don't want to be there, mate, just tell us so that we can get someone else in.
Yeah. We don't always know what's going on with the players. So
I want it to stay. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but man, if you're thinking you're not sure, then see you later.
Yeah, and look, I think he has plenty of time to think about PSG or Real Madrid.
There's a club option at the end, so I think he's still got 2 years.
Ramsdale has re-signed as well for another 2 years. I think I'm not sure about that, but Ramsdale is in. Wanted to round up the last few minutes. I wanted to make it maybe a bit longer, but it's easier to talk about the things that haven't worked for Arsenal this season. So this podcast has been longer in that respect. So I want to set a few minutes aside for what did we do well this season, Gary? I'll start with you. And what has Arteta done well? What has the team done well? Was it a fluke? Can we sustain this and even be better next season?
All right, so there's a lot of stuff that you want us to talk about here, but I guess one thing is Arteta has identified a style of play that he wants, a plan A. The problem is he doesn't have a plan B, C, or D.
You said good things, Gary. You said good things.
Oh, sorry. So he has a plan A. He has a really good plan
There's
A.
No buts.
When it's working, it gets you top of the league for most of the season. So he's done a good job there. That's Arteta.
come back, Spencer. I know you watch Gary as well,
Yeah.
so come back to the
Yep.
circle
Cheers,
as
Spence.
well.
Yeah. No. So I think that's
Thank you.
one of the pluses there. The players have improved. We've expected a lot of these players to improve, and they have, especially the front four. Essentially, if you look at Saka, Martinelli, Erdogan, they have improved. Jesus, I think.
You really want to say but you really
No.
This
They've
is a
improved.
section where you can't say but.
No.
no, but.
No. They've improved. Look at the numbers. The numbers have shown they've improved. Ramsdale has improved. That's what we wanted to see. Who else? I think Ben White is doing a good job. I don't like him there as much sometimes because I feel like teams will try to attack him, but he's done pretty well. Who else? Adu has done well on his secondary targets. I'll say that. On his secondary targets,
Yeah,
he's
dial in that first
right?
start.
I'm sure there's a compliment in there somewhere.
That's it. That's the compliment. On his secondary targets, he's been pretty
You might have
good.
to search
Right?
for it, but it's in there.
That's not a good. That's not a good. That's not
It's like playing
that's not good.
darts where your first dart is a finder and your second one you
Yeah.
hone in.
So no, I think he's done well there. As I said, the style of play that he wants to implement, he's got that down. There is a lot of things he still needs to work on. That's why it's hard to just. I mean, I think you guys could probably find some more stuff.
This
but,
is all the good stuff. You can't
Yeah,
say anything
yeah.
bad
all right.
about Uncle
That's
Arteta.
it. I think that's all you're gonna get from me then. I guess I'm not. Yeah. Tell me
All right,
all the other
Tony.
things I missed.
Thank you, Gary. We'll come back to you. Tony, say something nice about Mikel and Arsenal, and you can't use the word but or except.
Board, whatever you want to say, the owners are supporting the manager. That's something we haven't done in ages. They're going and buying the players that the manager wants. Identifying the players. The young players are improving that are playing. I think that's about as far as I can go without saying any but.
I know it's unwalked territory for you. You haven't gone down this road too much.
I
But
just haven't seen that many. If I see them, I would point it out.
all right. For my part, I think we've come a long way, and it's been 3 or 4 years. Yes. And people hold up Eddie Howe as they've got Newcastle. He's got Newcastle firing. I don't think the extent of the
Wait a
job.
second. Why are you talking about Eddie Howe? Aren't you supposed to be talking about Arsenal?
Yeah.
Stay on topic, right?
I think he's lifted the atmosphere in the stadium to the extent that a lot of Arsenal fans now feel much more confident about where we're going. And this season, yeah, it's been ultimately disappointing, but we've had a hell of a ride. Yeah, right up till April and May. We've been right in
You
this
said
thing.
but, didn't you? You actually said but. And you told us the rules are you can't say but.
I failed again. I just think that yeah, we need a plan B. We have
That's not a positive. Can you stick to the script? The script is this is where we talk positively about Arsenal. No, you just told us not to.
I did
all
it.
negative, no buts, all positive. And that's one thing you definitely said about the fans are definitely engaged more.
Star?
And there is an atmosphere at the stadium now, right? The whole Ashbury Army, whatever it's called, Ashburton. That's something that's good for Arsenal. That's one of the things he said he wanted to do, and he did it. So, yeah.
And look, most of you hate the song, hate the North London Forever, the Angel. Most of you hate it. I think it's a good thing. It gets the atmosphere going. So, Stan, you hate that song.
Yeah, I do.
So say something nice about Arsenal.
I don't know how it would feel. I went to a game. I don't remember if it was being sung back then.
It had to have been.
But I wasn't singing it, so
you glanced over it.
So
I thought you said you sung it. thought you said
What?
you did.
What? No, I don't like the song.
This is
Tony.
a live stream. He's not going to say it live, Tony.
No.
Let's go back to the one where he got back.
But Stan, we've enjoyed this season, right?
What I've enjoyed about this season the most is that during games, this Arsenal, I've seen Arsenal evolve where if we can't get where we want to be in a game and it's not going our way, I would literally see the team shrug their shoulders and think to themselves, you know what, we messed up today. We'll make up for it next week. But what I've seen from this Arsenal team is that when they face problems within the game, there's been so many times that the team has somehow managed to dig their way out of trouble. You know,
But that
Gab-
went away
Gab-
at the end of the season's only bad thing, Stan.
Gabriel,
They did it-
you know, making a
did it
mistake
for
and going
90%
out
of
the
the
end of
season,
the
but-
other pitch. And... Right,
What's
that's
his
it. I'm going
echo?
for kebab.
Tony, you had
Don't
to
want to
jump.
hear it. I'm not going to starve myself to death. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. I'm starving. Do you know what I mean?
Tony, I'll give you one more chance, Stan.
That's it. He trampled it. That's it. He ruined it.
I
I'm going for
didn't-
kebab.
I didn't hear what Tony said. I definitely didn't hear what Stan said.
I'm so
Tony.
hungry right now.
Yellow card, Tony. Yellow card. All right.
I get a gold star because I get to say
Alonso.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man.
Alonso, just for that, Tony, Alonso gets the final say. Thank you, Gary, for being here. As always, go check out Gary on the road trip Saturday and the trip on Monday. I'm glad I got that right. Tony, thanks for being here. Interrupting as always, trying to get put your hands up sometimes. Stan,
Sometimes I have my hand up off of my controller.
you'll be eating soon, Stan. Don't worry. You got a kebab or something, or a taco or something. I don't know what you have, but maybe cauliflower pizza. I don't know.
No, it's not that.
Alonso, finish the show for us, Alonso. Thanks for
Quickly.
joining as well, Alonso.
Right. So, Tony, please don't interrupt me, Tony, okay? Anyway, so before I end it off tonight, I just want to say thanks, Ray, for having me. Thanks to see you guys, Gary, Tony, and Stan. Yeah, it was a tough loss. I think, like Stan has said, you know, they always come back stronger the next game. So hopefully Arsenal can finish the year strong and hopefully fight for second place, I guess, or fight even more, knowing that they're almost there. I think that this young Arsenal team is going to do pretty well in the future. I think this is only the beginning. I hope that I hope stay with us in that contract extension and 20 Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners. Stan is going to get something to eat. I don't know what it is, but thanks everybody for watching. We're living in a world where Man City have beaten Real Madrid in the Champions League, and that's the level we have to reach. That's the level we have to reach. We have to get to Man City. Take care, everyone. Come back on Sunday for the Sunday show. I promise there will be a Kahoot on Sunday. Take care. We're out
And
of
remember,
here.
everyone, it's Tony's world. We're just living in it.
It's Tony's world. We're just living it.